Chapter 497. An old mountain goat? What an ignorant rogue cultivator. How could he choose a mountain goat as his spiritual pet? Ling Xiao, take care of your spiritual pet. Otherwise, I don't mind killing it first. A look of disdain appeared in Tan Lang's eyes as he said coldly. The old mountain goat's mastery of the heaven-devouring secret skill was higher than Ling Xiao's. He had already condensed the King Heaven Devourer cauldron. Usually his aura was not obvious. Even Tan Lang could not tell how strong the old mountain goat was. As soon as Tan Lang finished speaking, the old mountain goat was enraged. His eyes were filled with hostility and he suddenly kicked Tan Lang with his hoof. You're the fucking spiritual pet. Your whole family are spiritual pets. You're pissing me off. I'll beat you to death, you bastard. The old mountain goat roared like a clap of thunder. At the same time, he used the secret skill of teleportation and appeared behind Tan Lang in an instant. His hoof was filled with golden light that contained terrifying power. It was like a divine mountain pressing down. The old mountain goat's attack was too wretched. However, the effect was surprisingly good. Tan Lang did not even have time to react before the old mountain goat's hoof kicked his head. Ding! As if he had kicked a hard metal, there was a sound of metal clashing. Tan Lang felt his head turn black and he was instantly sent flying. He smashed the window and landed on the street. Trash, you can't even take a hit from me. How dare you act like a wolf? The old mountain goat blew on his hoof and took small steps as he said proudly, Bastard, I'm going to kill you. A furious roar exploded like a clap of thunder. Tan Lang was so furious that he almost fainted. A moment ago, he was still saying that he would take down Ling Xiao in 3 moves. In the end, he was directly attacked by Ling Xiao's spiritual pet. The old mountain goat was too wretched. Not only did he hide his cultivation, he even used the secret skill of teleportation to kick Tan Lang out of the Supreme Tower. This time, Tan Lang lost all his face. Boom! Tan Lang instantly rushed up from the Supreme Tower. His eyes were filled with blazing killing intent as if he was about to spit fire. This is the star son of the starry wolf from the Star Palace? It's really the star son of the starry wolf. Why does he look so miserable? There's a mark on the back of his head. It looks like he was kicked by some demonic beast. Oh my god, this is big news. The starry star son of the starry wolf was beaten by someone. Could it be someone from the Sun Holy Land and Sun? The violent commotion in the Supreme Tower and Tan Lang's roar of the Supreme Tower. Many young geniuses were drinking and socializing in the Supreme Tower, and after being alarmed, they all surrounded over. They instantly recognized Greed's identity, and their eyes were filled with incomparable shock. When those discussions reached Greed's ears, his vision suddenly turned black. He was so angry that he was about to go crazy. Is it the Great Stellar Wheel? Senior Tan Lang used the supreme divine power. Ling Xiao and the old mountain goat are dead meat. A disciple from the Star Palace exclaimed in surprise and he suddenly became excited. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Little Tan Lang, let me teach you how to be a human. The old mountain goat suddenly became excited. He spat out a golden flame from his mouth and it seemed to have transformed into a golden lotus. Then, it collided with the Great Star Wheel. Boom! A terrifying sound wave exploded and divine light swept in all directions. Although the Supreme Tower was extremely sturdy, there were still many tables and chairs that instantly turned into dust. The old mountain goat rolled his eyes and there was a flash of light around him. He suddenly disappeared from the spot and appeared behind Tan Lang. Then he kicked Tan Lang's head with his hooves. Bastard, do you really think I'm not prepared? Go and die. After Tan Lang suffered a loss, he became alert. He felt that the old mountain goat was behind him and he suddenly sneered. There was a flash of light in his hand and there was a dazzling silver net. There seemed to be countless runes twinkling on it and it covered the old mountain goat. You're using a doctrine weapon? You're shameless. The old mountain goat shrieked and there was a golden lotus twinkling around him. Runes broke the silver net and he instantly escaped. Ling Xiao was surprised. The old mountain goat's Dao injury had recovered by quite a bit. Even an ordinary expert of the Imperial Road wasn't his match. He didn't expect Tan Lang to be on par with the old mountain goat. On the top floor of the Supreme Tower, the fat shopkeeper and the second prince's faces instantly changed. The second prince's face grew grave and his eyes were filled with shock. He realized that he had misjudged. The old mountain goat, who didn't seem to be anything special besides his foul mouth, was actually able to fight with Tan Lang. It was simply beyond his imagination. The fat shopkeeper's face turned ashen. He felt that it was over. He, as the head shopkeeper, couldn't escape the blame for causing such a huge commotion. Rumble. The battle became more and more intense. Tan Lang used the Great Star Wheel and there was boundless starlight around him. There seemed to be a huge star rotating in the void, providing him with boundless star power. This was Tan Lang's divine power. It reflected his Tan Lang's fate and gave him unparalleled strength. However, Tan Lang was also extremely shocked. He didn't expect the old mountain goat to be so difficult to deal with. Not only was his physical strength abnormal, but he also seemed to know a terrifying great ability. The golden true devouring fire burned everything. Even Tan Lang's silver net Dao tool was destroyed by the true devouring fire in the end. Stop! A clear female voice rang out. Rumble! In the distance, the earth shook as the Azure Dragon Scale Horse came over. The 9th princess and the Azure Dragon Guard were rushing over. A terrifying dragon roar rang out. The 9th princess, who was in the lead, rode the dragon scale horse. Her azure armor outlined her perfect curves. She soared into the sky on the dragon scale horse. Her body was filled with dragon might. An azure dragon appeared behind her and charged at Tan Lang and the old mountain goat. Rumble! The azure dragon was boundless and seemed to be connected to the mysterious power of Heavenly God City. It instantly blasted away Tan Lang and the old mountain goat. The power of Heavenly God City's dragon vein? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He could clearly sense that the azure dragon formed by the 9th princess had mobilized a trace of the power of Heavenly God City's dragon vein. Is this the power of the dragon god scripture? I heard that the royal family of the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon and the dragon clan of the Eastern Sea Crystal Palace have the same bloodline. Perhaps it's true. Ling Zhao thought to himself. During the Heavenly God Assembly, private fights are prohibited. Do you think the Azure Dragon Guard is a vegetarian? Chapter 498. How arrogant! Since when did the ancient kingdom of Dragon have the right to interfere with the matters of the Star Palace? Get out of my way. Whoever dares to stop me from killing today, I will kill him first. Tan Lang said arrogantly, and his eyes were filled with cold, murderous intent. The sneak attack by the old goat had caused Tan Lang to lose face. Only by killing the old goat and Ling Zhao could he wash away the shame with their blood. Hence, the rule of no killing during the Heavenly God Convention was thrown aside by Tan Lang. Good, very good. Since the Star Palace doesn't abide by the rules of the ancient kingdom of Dragon, get out of the Heavenly God City. Yuan Wan's eyes flashed coldly. She didn't give Tan Lang any face and scolded him directly. She also knew that Tan Lang's identity wasn't ordinary. Hence, she didn't ask the Azure Dragon Guards to kill him directly. Whether or not they could kill Tan Lang was another matter. However, if it affected the relationship between the ancient kingdom of Dragon and the Star Palace, it would be a big problem. However, this young lady had a fiery temper. Seeing Tan Lang contradicting her, she didn't give him any face. Seeing that Tan Lang was about to go berserk, the second prince complained in his heart and hated Ling Zhao even more. However, he knew that if he didn't step in, things would get out of hand. Brother Tan Lang, so you are here. Why lower yourself to the same level as an ant? With Brother Greedy Wolf's strength, he could crush them any time he wanted. Today, take it as giving me face and let them off temporarily. After all, the Heavenly God Convention is about to start, isn't it? The second prince walked out and smiled at Tan Lang. Tan Lang was in a difficult position. He didn't want to fall out with the ancient kingdom of Dragon and he knew that he couldn't kill Ling Zhao for the time being. He also didn't want to lose face. Seeing that the second prince had given him a way out, his expression gradually returned to normal. Since your highness has given the order, Tan Lang naturally has to give your highness face. I will let these ants off temporarily. I hope that you can stay in the Heavenly God City. Otherwise, when you leave the Heavenly God City, It will be the day of your death. Tan Lang said as he looked at Ling Xiao and the old goat coldly. Ha! You dare to threaten me? Do you believe that I won't make you reincarnate anytime? Don't try to act all high and mighty in front of me. Otherwise, it won't be as simple as kicking your head next time. The old goat laughed disdainfully. His words poked at Tan Lang's sore spot. The killing intent in Tan Lang's eyes intensified. Miss Moon Goddess, as the saying goes, summer insects should not be spoken of in ice. Divine dragons and ants are not people of the same world. You are a proud daughter of the heavens. It is better for you not to be together with these lowly people. The second prince glanced at the moon god and smiled. Your Highness need not worry. In my eyes, Ling Xiao is the dragon god, and your Highness, moon god smiled faintly. Her voice was extremely cold. She did not say a word, but her meaning was self-evident. The second prince's face stiffened. Yueshan was merciless. Ling Xiao was a divine dragon. What was the second prince? Ants? After Yu Wanwan heard the second prince's words, she couldn't help but frown, but she didn't say anything. She looked at Ling Xiao and said, You're Ling Xiao? I hope you can abide by the rules of Heavenly God City. Otherwise, don't blame me for chasing you out of Heavenly God City. Thank you for your reminder, ninth princess. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, they are courting death. Ling Xiao smiled and glanced at Tan Lang and the people from Star Palace. Taoist Wu Liang walked out with bright eyes and said, Wanman, do you still remember me? When I saw you before, I couldn't stop thinking about you. Woman, only a handsome man like me is worthy of your peerless beauty. Don't go. As soon as Taoist Wu Liang opened his mouth, Yuan Wan's face stiffened. Her eyes revealed a murderous look, and her forehead was full of black lines. However, in public, she held back and hurriedly turned her horse around to leave. Seeing that Taoist Wu Liang dared to flirt with the ninth princess in public, everyone had a strange look in their eyes. She's gone. Stop looking. You will be beaten to death sooner or later. Ling Xiao said helplessly. A fair lady is a good match for a gentleman. Wanwan must have secretly fallen in love with me. That's why she ran away shyly. Taoist Wu Liang looked at Yu Wanwan's back and his eyes were filled with infatuation. Ling Xiao rolled his eyes. Just as he was about to say something, he suddenly felt a cold, murderous intent locking onto him. Swoosh! A ray of purple flowing light was extremely fast. It seemed to have pierced through the void and shot towards Ling Xiao's forehead. It was a purple feather arrow. There was no fluctuation. When it was close to Ling Xiao, it exploded with extreme speed. It had a sharpness that could pierce through everything. Bastard, how dare you launch a sneak attack? The infatuation in Taoist Wu Liang's eyes disappeared. In an instant, there was a burst of light. He waved the horsetail whisk in his hand. Like a divine chain of order, it instantly wrapped around the feather arrow and shattered it. What a terrifying feather arrow. If an emperor is not careful, he could be killed in one hit. Who is it? Moon Goddess's eyes also revealed a trace of shock. She couldn't figure out who it was that dared to launch a sneak attack on Ling Xiao in public. Ling Xiao, it seems like you have a lot of enemies. I think you won't be able to leave Heavenly God City alive. Tan Lang and the second prince both laughed coldly. Their eyes were filled with satisfaction as they turned and left. The one who attacked was an emperor. He used a special technique to hide his presence and has already escaped. The feather arrow was shot from 100 miles away. Damn it! Old Goat's eyes flashed. He realized that the person who attacked was very decisive. After the arrow was shot, he had already cut off his presence and left. Who else could it be? Who else could it be other than the Nantian family? Since you want to die, don't blame me for being impolite. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed an incomparably cold light. He was completely enraged. Ling Xiao was almost instantly sure that the person who attacked him was from the Nantian family. Even if it wasn't, it must have something to do with the Nantian family. Assassinating Ling Xiao in public was both to intimidate and to establish dominance. Such an arrogant and domineering method was simply unscrupulous. It was as if telling Ling Xiao that he was dead meat and that no one could save him. If Ling Xiao was just an ordinary cultivator at the first level of the noble plane, the arrow would have taken his life. Nantian family? That bunch of bastards actually dared to do such a thing? They lost the stone gambling bet. How shameless. Let's go directly to the Nantian family and kill them all. Old Goat's eyes also revealed a trace of blood-red killing intent. He was extremely furious. Assassinating in public was simply a brazen provocation. Let's go to the Southern Sky House. Ling Zhao's lips revealed a trace of a cold smile as he spoke slowly. Old Goat and Taoist Wuliang were slightly stunned. Why are we going to the Southern Sky House? To collect some interest first. I heard that the ancient stones in the Southern Sky House are even more valuable than the precious treasure pavilion. Ling Zhao's eyes were filled with coldness. Chapter 499. Stone gambling? This emperor likes it. Let's take away all the ancient stones from the Southern Sky Temple and leave nothing for them. The old goat's eyes lit up and were filled with excitement. Ancient stones contained supreme treasures, but the price of ancient stones was also incomparably high. Stone gambling was very likely to make a fortune, but it was also possible to lose all of one's fortune. As the saying goes, even an immortal would find it difficult to cut an inch of jade. No one knew whether the ancient stones contained supreme treasures or trash. The Southern Sky Temple was located in the west of the city. Although it wasn't as quiet as the precious treasure pavilion, it was still very imposing. It was a huge palace complex with glowing treasures. Ling Xiao, the moon goddess, the old goat, and Taoist Wuliang walked towards the Southern Sky Temple. They couldn't help but exclaim when they saw the huge palace complex. Although the Nantian family wasn't as rich as the precious treasure pavilion, it was still able to occupy such a large area in Heavenly God City. The precious treasure pavilion and the Southern Sky Temple were the two biggest stone gambling places in Heavenly God City. Almost all the most precious ancient stones were in the precious treasure pavilion and the Southern Sky Temple. There were 3 main halls in the Southern Sky Temple. They were the Human King Hall, the Earth King Hall, and the Heavenly King Hall. There were hundreds of thousands of ancient stones in the 3 halls. They were all collected by the Southern Sky Temple from all over the world. Some had even been placed here for thousands of years and had become the treasures of the Southern Sky Temple. Esteemed guests, please come in. Ling Xiao and the other 3 had just arrived when a few pretty maids with graceful figures walked over with smiles on their faces and welcomed them in. Although Ling Xiao had offended the Nantian family, it was obvious that the people of the Southern Sky Temple didn't know him. Otherwise, they wouldn't have let them in. Ling Xiao didn't go to the halls that sold weapons and elixirs. Instead, he went straight to the Human King Hall. Ling Xiao, although there are many ancient stones in the Human King Hall, there shouldn't be many precious ones. Why don't we go to the Heavenly King Hall? The old goat glanced at the ancient stones and curled his lips. Although there were a lot of ancient stones, their quality was not as good as the yellow-grade stone garden in the Precious Treasures Pavilion. Although they seemed to be shining with treasure light and some even contained Tao Will, the old goat could still see that most of them were not treasures. Fortunately, there were plenty of ancient stones in the Human King Palace, and the price was cheap, so many young geniuses came here to gamble. Alright, let's go. There really is a very special ancient stone here. Ling Xiao looked around with his heavenly star god eyes and found that most of the items in the ancient stone were ordinary. Just as he was about to leave, he felt the wordless heavenly book vibrate slightly. The source was precisely the centermost ancient stone. It seemed to be as tall as a person, like a stone man. Resplendent light shone from it, mysterious and unfathomable. Its Tao intent was extremely powerful. However, the wordless heavenly book didn't sense the human-shaped ancient stone. Instead, it was the stone platform beneath the ancient stone. It was dark, squarish, and smooth like glass. What ancient stone have you taken a fancy to? You can tell me that the ancient stones of our Southern Sky Temple are better than those of the Precious Treasure Pavilion in terms of both quality and price. Who knows, you might even be able to obtain a supreme treasure. A fat man wearing a brocade robe walked over with a chuckle. He looked very kind and was only a LV9 Noble Realm cultivator. He was the palace master of the human king palace. He could tell that the moon goddess and Ling Xiao were extraordinary, so he had come to serve them personally. Although the moon goddess was wearing a veil, her peerless demeanor and otherworldly temperament were enough to amaze anyone who saw her. The fat palace master found it hard to imagine what kind of peerless beauty was beneath the veil. What's the price of the ancient stone in the center? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he asked slowly. You've taken a fancy to this sacred stone? This sacred stone is the treasure of the human king palace and is worth 100,000 pure yang elixirs. It is said that it may contain a terrifying creature. However, those who are not bold enough would not dare to sell this sacred stone. Would you like to give it a try? The fat palace master had not expected Ling Xiao to take a fancy to the treasure of the human king palace. It was also the most precious ancient stone in the human king palace. He immediately introduced it to Ling Xiao enthusiastically. If the fat palace master could sell this sacred stone, he would be able to earn a lot of pure yang elixirs as commission. I'm not talking about the human king ancient stone, but the square glazed stone beneath it, Ling Xiao said with a smile. He had not expected the human king ancient stone to be sold for 100,000 pure yang elixirs. However, the wordless heavenly book did not show any reaction. Although Ling Xiao's heavenly star god eyes could not see through the ancient stone, he could sense that there might not be any treasure in it. What? That glazed stone? The fat palace master was stunned. He had not expected Ling Xiao to take a fancy to the glazed stone. Although the glazed stone was also an ancient stone, it was extremely ordinary and square. Hence, it was used as a platform for the human king ancient stone. But, are you not selling that glazed stone? Ling Xiao asked. No. I'm just curious why you don't want to buy the human king ancient stone but an ordinary glazed stone. That glazed stone is not cheap and there is a high possibility that nothing can be cut out of it. Would you like to exchange for another one? The fat palace master kindly reminded Ling Xiao. There is no need to exchange. I want this glazed stone. Ling Xiao insisted. The fat palace master sighed and said, this glazed stone is sold for 10,000 pure yang elixirs. Since you insist, I won't persuade you anymore. However, you might be disappointed. Don't worry. I'm just playing with it. Ling Xiao smiled. He felt that the fat palace master was a good person. Ling Xiao, are you sure that there is a treasure in that glazed stone? It looks ordinary and seems to have been polished manually. Don't spend 10,000 pure yang elixirs on a useless stone. Pure yang elixirs are a small matter but losing face is a big matter. The old goat muttered in a low voice. His eyes were filled with suspicion. Trust me, this ancient stone is the most precious thing in the human king palace. Ling Xiao smiled and did not explain. However, seeing Ling Xiao's confident look, the old goat did not continue to persuade him. Since Ling Xiao had given 10,000 pure yang elixirs to the fat palace master, the glazed stone belonged to Ling Xiao. The fat palace master asked enthusiastically, do you need someone to cut the stone? We can cut the stone for you for free. There is no need. Ling Xiao smiled and grabbed the huge glazed stone. Then he threw it to the ground. Bang! The human king palace shook violently, startling everyone. They quickly turned to look at Ling Xiao. They saw that the glazed stone had been smashed to pieces by Ling Xiao. Then, a black ancient stone the size of a watermelon was revealed. What? It is a stone in a stone? The fat palace master was shocked and could not help but exclaim. His eyes were filled with disbelief. The so-called stone in a stone meant that there was another layer of ancient stone within the ancient stone. Generally, there would be treasures in the stone in a stone and they would be extremely precious treasures. The fat palace master did not expect that there would be a stone in a normal glazed stone. The fat palace master smiled bitterly. He had to admit that he regretted it. Chapter 500. The black ancient stone was sparkling and translucent. Strands of Tao inscriptions intertwined and formed a mysterious pattern on the surface of the ancient stone. It looked extraordinary. There's a stone in this colored glazed stone? How is that possible? Oh my God, I knew that this colored glazed stone was not simple. If only I could have bought it earlier. Who is so bold to buy this colored glazed stone? Tis Ling Xiao. Everyone was shocked and gathered around. When they saw the black ancient stone in the colored glazed stone, their eyes were filled with envy. When the crowd saw Ling Xiao, some of them were shocked as they recognized Ling Xiao. What? He's the Ling Xiao who cut out the longevity cicada in the treasure pavilion? He made the third young master, Nantian Sword, kneel down and apologize to him. He even slapped himself. The Nantian family hates him to the core. How dare he come to the Southern Sky House? This is going to be interesting. I'm afraid the third young master will be here soon. By then this kid will suffer. After the crowd recognized Ling Xiao, some were gloating, some were shocked, some had cold expressions, and some had jealous looks in their eyes. What? You're Ling Xiao? The fat palace master's face turned green instantly and he looked terrible. Ling Xiao, you've got me in trouble. Why did you come to the Southern Sky House? You even bought such a precious colored glazed stone. If the third young master finds out, I'll be dead. The fat shopkeeper's face was sullen, and the fat on his body was trembling. He looked at Ling Xiao with eyes full of resentment. You didn't ask me. Ling Xiao touched his nose and said innocently. The fat palace master was about to spit out blood. He didn't ask, but you're trying to get me in trouble. I'm in trouble. Ling Xiao didn't care about the fat palace master's resentment. He picked up the black ancient stone and examined it carefully. His eyes were filled with shock. This ancient stone is the real dragon blood jade. The ancient stone was filled with faint dragon power. The Tao inscriptions were like real dragons spiraling around. They were crystal clear and mysterious. Is it really the true dragon blood jade? Moreover, it's a top-grade true dragon blood jade. Such a large piece of true dragon blood jade is enough to refine a powerful supreme weapon. Taoist Wu Yang's eyes flashed with a glint. The old goat immediately became excited. If the ancient stones outside were all true dragon blood jades, then what kind of precious treasure would be inside? Quickly cut it open and take a look, the old goat urged. Alright. Ling Xiao took a deep breath and focused. He used the wordless heavenly book to sense the location of the treasure in the true dragon blood jade. With a flash of light in his hand, the sky-swallowing sword turned into a sharp black dagger. Whoosh! A streak of resplendent sword light flashed past. Soaring sky actually directly chopped the true dragon blood jade into two halves. The fat palace master and everyone else were so scared that their bodies trembled. Was this guy too careless, or did he really not know how to cut stones? Which stonecutter didn't carefully cut stones, afraid that they would destroy the treasure inside? Ling Xiao, on the other hand, actually directly chopped down with a sword. Buzz! A streak of resplendent light was emitted from the true dragon blood jade. It was dazzling and a resplendent pearl flew out. It was the size of a fist and emitted a dazzling golden light. It was surging with auspicious air and filled with dragon power. It was extremely spiritual. The golden pearl trembled slightly in the void and wanted to fly away. Ling Xiao was already prepared. Suddenly, a streak of golden heaven-swallowing true qi gushed out and grabbed the golden pearl. Could this be the legendary dragon pearl? Someone exclaimed. His eyes were filled with incomparable fervor. The golden pearl was dazzling and flawless. It was enshrouded in a dense luster as if a small golden dragon was emitting from it. It was mysterious and unfathomable. The legendary dragon pearl was the essence of the dragon tribe. After breaking through to the Demon King realm, they would begin to condense the dragon pearl. It was the foundation of their superpowers and the essence of their flesh and blood. If they lost the dragon pearl, the dragon tribe would lose half of their strength. However, according to the difference in bloodline, the dragon pearl could be divided into Jiao dragon pearl, earth dragon pearl, flying dragon pearl, sky dragon pearl, and true dragon pearl. The dragon pearl in Ling Xiao's hand must be the true dragon pearl. The true dragon pearl could only be contained within the true dragon blood jade because the true dragon blood jade absorbed the true dragon's blood and dragon pearl's qi. It was a top-notch treasure that was formed after countless years of nurturing. The true dragon pearl meant that the pearl in Ling Xiao's hand contained all the essence of a venerable true dragon and even the martial path superpowers. At the thought of this, everyone's eyes became incomparably fervent. Some even revealed greedy murderous intent, eager to snatch it from Ling Xiao's hands. The true dragon pearl was a treasure that was not inferior to the longevity cicada that Ling Xiao obtained. It might even be better. It was said that after refining the true dragon pearl, not only could one obtain the blood chi essence, martial path comprehension, and superpowers within the true dragon pearl, it could even increase the possibility of becoming a righteous paragon. This true dragon pearl had a fatal attraction to martial artists below the venerable realm. What are you doing? Get out of my way. I'll kill anyone who dares to make a move. The old goat's eyes revealed a trace of vigilance as he exuded an incomparably terrifying aura. Ling Xiao's eyes also revealed a trace of a cold light. If someone really didn't know how to appreciate his kindness, he wouldn't mind starting a massacre in the Southern Sky Temple. Ling Xiao didn't plan to sell this true dragon pearl to anyone. With the true dragon pearl, Ling Xiao would soon be able to break through to the heavenly dragon body. At that time, once the heavenly dragon body was completed, he would possess a peerless battle body that could crush emperors. The true dragon pearl was the foundation for Ling Xiao to break through the ancestral dragon secret technique, so he had to keep it. Everyone immediately came to their senses. The old goat in front of them wasn't someone to be trifled with. Even the greedy wolf Starchild couldn't do anything to him. He was definitely a peerless demon king. The news of the true dragon pearl being obtained from the human king palace instantly flew out as if it had grown wings. The young talents all went to inform the seniors of their sections. No matter what, they had to obtain this true dragon pearl. Nantienda, I heard that someone obtained the true dragon pearl? I was just worried that I didn't have a birthday gift for my father. I want this true dragon pearl. An extremely arrogant and cold voice was heard. Before the other old monsters arrived, the people from the Nantian family had already rushed over after hearing the news. When Ling Xiao and Taoist Wuliang heard this voice, their eyes revealed an extremely strange expression. It was Nan Tianjian. Sure enough, in the next moment, Nan Tianjian led a group of lackeys into the human king palace impatiently. His eyes were filled with incomparable excitement. However, when he saw Ling Xiao, his face instantly stiffened. Nan Tianjian suddenly had a bad premonition. The person who obtained the true dragon pearl couldn't be Ling Xiao, right? Chapter 501. Third Young Master. This real dragon pearl was obtained by Ling Xiao. The fat palace lord, Nantienda, looked at Nan Tianjian anxiously with a long face. Hearing Nan Tienda's words, Nan Tianjian's face twitched uncontrollably. But Ling Xiao again. Why was this brat always able to obtain supreme treasures? In the precious treasure pavilion he obtained the longevity cicada, and in the Southern Sky Temple he obtained the true dragon pearl. The anger in Southern Sky Sword's heart could not be washed away. Ling Xiao, how dare you come to the Southern Sky Temple? Very well. Since you dare to come, leave your life behind. Nan Tianjian said through gritted teeth. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Ling Xiao glanced at Nan Tianjian and smiled. The Southern Sky Temple is open for guests. Why can't I come here? Regardless of whether you dare to kill me here, even if you dare, do you have the strength to do so? Ling Xiao's smile was faint and filled with disregard and indifference. Nan Tianjian could not hold it in any longer, and his eyes were filled with coldness. Ling Xiao, you're courting death. Nan Tianjian was filled with anger. When he saw Ling Xiao, it reminded him of the humiliation of kneeling before Ling Xiao and slapping himself. He could not hold it in any longer, and a powerful aura erupted from his body as he threw a punch at Ling Xiao. Nantian Sword's cultivation of the 9th level of the noble realm burst forth. His punch contained the power of 9 great superpowers. Behind him, an ancient stone gate seemed to appear, exuding a power that could suppress everything. Scram! Ling Xiao spat out a word coldly and threw out a punch as well. The golden divine light was accompanied by a vast dragon's might. It was as if a golden divine dragon was sweeping over, containing the power to destroy everything. The stone door behind Nan Tianjian was shattered by the divine dragon. Then, a powerful force swept over and sent Nan Tianjian flying dozens of feet away. He landed heavily on the ground outside the Human King Palace. What? Many young talents in the Human King Palace were shocked and their eyes were filled with disbelief. Ling Xiao was in the limelight in Heavenly God City because his luck was too good. He had obtained many treasures and offended the Nantian clan and Star Palace. However, Ling Xiao was only in the first level of the noble realm. Although Nantian Sword was a bit of a spoiled brat, he was still a LV9 noble realm cultivator. How could he not be able to withstand one punch from Ling Xiao? Southern Sky Sword's internal organs were injured, and he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His arm had completely lost all feeling, and his meridians had been shattered by Ling Xiao. When Ling Xiao punched out, Southern Sky Sword felt as if he was facing an immemorial ferocious beast. The violent and powerful physical strength of Ling Xiao seriously injured him with just one punch. This also meant that if they really fought, he was no match for Ling Xiao. Bastard, how can you be so strong? But no one can save you today. Kill him for me. Nantian Sword's eyes were filled with shock and anger. He pointed at the experts from the Nantian family and ordered them to kill Ling Xiao. Is the Nantian family going to ignore the rules and kill someone to steal the treasure? If that's the case, I think the Nantian house should close down quickly. If you're afraid of someone else obtaining the treasure, why are you still opening a stone gambling place? Taoist Wuliang stood out with a horsetail whisk in his hand. He looked otherworldly as he glanced at the people from the Nantian family. That's right. I think the Nantian family just wants to kill someone to steal the treasure. The entire Heavenly God City already knows about the birth of the real Dragon Ball. Do you think you can still block the news? I didn't expect the Nantian family to be so shameless. You bunch of upstarts. You won't be able to surpass the precious treasure pavilion even if you have 10,000 years. The old goat sneered. Boom. At this moment, a black-robed old man, who looked lifeless but had a very strong aura, flew over from the sky. His eyes were filled with an incomparably blazing look. Who obtained the real Dragon Ball? I'll take it. A domineering voice rang out. The black-robed elder was so excited that he was about to go crazy. He didn't have much lifespan left and was about to turn into dust when he heard about the birth of the real Dragon Ball. If he consumed the real Dragon Ball, even if he reached the end of his lifespan, he could still rely on the majestic energy within the real Dragon Ball to break through the shackles of the Supreme Being realm and obtain 10,000 years of lifespan. Granduncle, the one who obtained the real Dragon Ball is Ling Xiao. If you kill him, the real Dragon Ball will be ours. Nantian Sword said excitedly when he saw the black-robed elder. The black-robed elder was Nantian Sword's granduncle, Chen Yang. He was also the elder who threatened Ling Xiao in the precious treasure pavilion. What? Ling Xiao obtained it? Chen Yang's face instantly turned ugly. It didn't matter who obtained the real Dragon Ball, but it had to be Ling Xiao. How dare this bastard come to the Nantian house? Ling Xiao, you dare to reward Jiena? Do you really think the Nantian family is easy to bully? That murderous intent flashed in Chen Yang's eyes as he made up his mind. Terrifying energy erupted from his body as he sent a palm strike towards Ling Xiao. He was planning to kill Ling Xiao before the other old monsters arrived. Boom. Although Chen Yang had fallen from the half-supreme being realm, he had lived for thousands of years. His attack contained the power of the law of heaven and earth. It was as if the world had been turned upside down as the terrifying palm strike seemed to be able to turn everything into dust. Don't you dare hurt our saintess. An old and hoarse voice rang out. A light flashed in the void as a white-haired old woman with a walking stick appeared. The dragon-head walking stick in her hand struck down and instantly shattered the palm strike. Chen Yang was sent flying dozens of feet away as he fell from the void. Granny Gue! The moon goddess's eyes revealed a trace of surprise as she softly called out. The old woman glanced at the moon goddess as the coldness on her face disappeared. She became gentle and asked, Saintess, are you all right? I'm fine. Thank you, Granny Gue. The moon goddess smiled as she heaved a sigh of relief. She didn't expect Chen Yang to be so bold as to directly kill Ling Xiao. Fortunately, Granny Gue had arrived in time. This old woman is an elder of the Moon Palace. She's a half-supreme being with unfathomable cultivation. She's not a human but a plant spirit. The old goat transmitted a message to Ling Xiao. The old goat's voice had a tinge of fear as if he had suffered in the hands of Granny Gui before. Boy, I heard that you tricked that bastard He Qingji to death? Not bad, not bad. Don't worry, with me around, no one in the heavenly god city will dare to touch you. Granny Gui glanced at Ling Xiao as a faint smile appeared in her eyes. Ling Xiao was stunned. Granny Gui seemed to have a grudge against He Qingji from the Star Palace. Chapter 502. Ling Xiao was slightly taken aback. He didn't expect Granny Gui of the Lunar Palace to have such a grudge with He Qingji. Elder Gui, is your Lunar Palace going to interfere with the matters of my Nantian family? Chen Yang's eyes revealed a trace of fear. Granny Gui was a ruthless person. She was the saintess of the Lunar Palace when she was young and had killed countless people. Granny Gui had also lived for a few thousand years, which was the same age as Chen Yang, but she maintained the strength of a half-step sovereign. Chen Yang's cultivation had declined, and he was only a 9th-level emperor now. He wasn't Granny Gui's opponent at all. I don't have time to interfere with the matters of your Nantian family, but if you dare to touch Ling Xiao and Yueshan, I'll skin you alive. Granny Gui's eyes flashed as a cold and vast aura spread out, causing Chen Yang's expression to change drastically. Bush, bush, bush. At this moment, countless powerful auras swept towards the southern sky house. The news of the true Dragon Pearl's appearance had alarmed many old monsters, and they couldn't sit still anymore. Not only those old monsters, but many geniuses from the sacred grounds had also come. A true Dragon Pearl might be related to the position of a sovereign, and it was worth fighting for. Who obtained the true Dragon Pearl? The Wang family of Pingyang is willing to pay 1 million pure Yang pills. The Luo family of River East is willing to pay 1 million pure Yang pills and a peerless Dao artifact. Everyone came to the Human King's palace, and their eyes were filled with excitement. Little friend, it's you? The Precious Treasure Pavilion's first elder also came to the Southern Sky House. What surprised him was that Ling Xiao was the one who obtained the true Dragon Pearl. Ling Xiao? The little guy who obtained the Longevity Cicada? Little guy, sell the true Dragon Pearl to me. I'll take you as my disciple and pass on all my wealth to you. Don't listen to old Monster Yang's nonsense. Those things of his are nothing. Sell it to me and I'll pass on 3 supreme abilities to you. A group of white-haired old men came in, and their eyes were filled with fervor as they surrounded Ling Xiao. All of them were nearing the end of their lifespans, but their cultivation was extremely powerful. They were at least 9th-level emperors, and a few were half-step sovereigns. These old monsters were all here for the true Dragon Ball. Seniors, this junior does not intend to sell this true Dragon Pearl for the time being. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. It was absolutely impossible to sell the true Dragon Ball to these old monsters. No one. Not for sale. Many of the old monsters were stunned, and their faces turned ugly. Young friend Ling, although the true Dragon Pearl contains some great divine abilities, the most important thing is to increase the possibility of becoming a half-step supreme being. It won't be of much use to you. As long as you're willing to sell, you can name any price you want. An old man with white hair and beard advised patiently. Everyone, please don't make things difficult for young friend Ling. Precious Treasure Pavilion's head elder stepped forward and helped Ling Xiao out of his predicament. He said with a slight smile, "How can a supreme treasure like the true Dragon Pearl be sold here?" 3 days later at the Precious Treasure Pavilion's auction, the treasures in little friend Ling's hands have already been entrusted to my Precious Treasure Pavilion to auction. At that time, everyone might be able to see the true Dragon Pearl. Hearing the great elder's explanation, the old monster's expressions became better and they all nodded. Since that's the case, then let's wait for the Precious Treasure Pavilion's auction 3 days later. With Granny Gui and the great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion around, those old monsters didn't have any thoughts of snatching it. Although they were a little disappointed, they were all prepared to show off their skills in the auction 3 days later. They must get the true Dragon Pearl. Seniors, please wait. Ling Xiao smiled and said, although I can't sell the true Dragon Pearl, I plan to make a trip to the Heavenly King Palace. I promise that as long as I can get a treasure that can increase my lifespan, I'll sell it to all of you today. I wonder if you believe in my stone gambling skills? Go to the Heavenly King Palace? Those old monsters were stunned for a moment, then they revealed an extremely interested expression and laughed. Of course we believe in young friend Ling's stone gambling skills. Even the longevity cicada and the true dragon pearl were obtained by young friend Ling. Who knows, young friend Ling might really be able to get a treasure that can increase his lifespan today. This old man will go with you to take a look. Young friend Ling, this old man will also go take a look. Many old monsters immediately became interested and spoke out one after another. I wonder if the Nantian family will allow Ling Xiao to continue stone gambling? I'm afraid that if I offend the Nantian family, the Heavenly King Palace won't allow Ling Xiao to go. Ling Xiao said with a smile, then glanced at Nantian Sword and Qin Yang. Nantian Sword and Qin Yang's faces instantly turned ugly. They could tell that Ling Xiao was here to cause trouble today. At this moment, they didn't dare to believe that Ling Xiao was just trying his luck. To be able to get the longevity cicada and the true dragon pearl, this kid must have some stone gambling skills. He must be pretending to be weak. They were afraid that all the ancient stones in the Heavenly King Palace would be swept clean by this kid. The Southern Sky Temple is open for guests. If we don't let young friend Ling Xiao in, I think the Southern Sky Temple won't be open in the future. That's right. The Nantian family wouldn't be so narrow-minded as to stop young friend Ling Xiao from stone gambling, right? A few old monsters spoke out and glanced at Qin Yang and Nantian Sword indifferently. The Southern Sky Temple is open for guests. As long as you are a guest, you can naturally enter. With so many old monsters here, Qin Yang didn't dare to offend them. He could only grit his teeth and agree. He hated Ling Xiao to the extreme. Ling Xiao was too cunning. He actually used the tiger skin of these old monsters. If the Southern Sky Temple dared to reject Ling Xiao today, their reputation in the entire War God continent would be ruined. These old monsters were nearing the end of their lifespans. Before they died, they would do all sorts of crazy things. Even those martial arts sacred grounds and hidden ancient clans wouldn't dare to offend these old monsters. Granduncle, are we really going to let Ling Xiao go to the Heavenly King Palace? Nantian's Sword transmitted his voice unwillingly. What else can we do? But does Ling Xiao really think that our Nantian family's things are so easy to take? Go and inform your big brother. When the time comes, Ling Xiao will lose everything. Chen Yang's eyes were filled with cold, killing intent as he transmitted his voice to Nantian Sword. My big brother? Nantian Sword's eyes instantly lit up. He said excitedly, that's right. Big Brother's purple aura spiritual technique has already reached perfection. In terms of stone gambling skills, Ling Xiao is no match for Big Brother. I'll go and find Big Brother now. After saying that, Nantian Sword turned around and left excitedly. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, was accompanied by a group of old monsters as they headed towards the Heavenly King Palace. Chapter 503. The interior of the Heavenly King Palace was very spacious. It was decorated with various precious gems, spiritual crystals as the stone platform, and spiritual spring to nourish the spiritual stones. It was extremely luxurious. There weren't many ancient stones in the Heavenly King Palace, only a little more than 1,000 of them. However, each of them contained a mysterious Tao rhyme. Moreover, each of them had different shapes and exuded a strange fluctuation. The mist was peaceful and auspicious. Many mysterious Tao principles were intertwined, making people feel as if they had arrived at the ancient divine world. However, the ancient stones here were also very expensive. Some of them were even calculated by kilograms. 1 kilogram of ancient stone would cost thousands of pure yang pills. The most amazing thing was the ancient stone in the center of the Heavenly King Palace. It looked like a peerless goddess, emitting 5-colored divine light. Every inch of the ancient stone was covered with mysterious runes. One could tell that this ancient stone was extraordinary. Most of the ancient stones in the Heavenly King Palace came from the depths of the primitive ancient mine or some forbidden land. Legends said that ancient divine objects were sealed in these stones and were extremely precious. Every ancient stone here had a sky-high price. Ordinary people simply couldn't afford it. Even those old monsters were secretly speechless. This ancient stone is worth 10,000 pure yang pills per kilogram? It's at least 25 kilograms, right? Is your Southern Sky House a black shop? You're cheating us. The old goat widened his eyes as he looked at the ancient stone that looked like white jade. It was only the size of a fist, but it weighed more than 25 kilograms. It was flowing with a mysterious Tao rhyme. My Southern Sky House's ancient stones are genuine. Don't come here if you can't afford it. You think it's expensive? Go take a look at that goddess stone. It's the treasure of my heavenly king palace. It's worth 30 million pure yang pills. Chen Yang sneered as if he finally seized the opportunity to mock Ling Xiao and the others. 30 million pure yang pills? Hee hee, your Southern Sky House is really black. If you really cut out an ancient goddess and she knows that you sold her, I'm afraid she'll raze the Southern Sky House to the ground. The old goat sneered. Ling Xiao roughly looked at the ancient stones in the Southern Sky House. They were worth at least 100,000 pure yang pills. With the amount of pure yang pills he had, he could only buy 3 to 5 of them. Young friend Ling, the ancient stones in the Sky King Palace are incomparably precious. If you can cut out a treasure that can increase one's lifespan, we will definitely buy it at a high price. The group of old monsters looked at Ling Xiao expectantly. The waters of stone gambling were too deep. Even if these old monsters were nearing the end of their lifespans, they still wouldn't dare to try their luck. If they didn't know the art of stone gambling, it was very likely that they would lose everything. However, this young man, Ling Xiao, was different. He had struck so many times, and each time, he had obtained a supreme treasure. This meant that this was not luck at all. This young man was also proficient in the art of stone gambling. These old monsters seemed to have seen hope. I'll try my best. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and walked around the Hall of Heavenly Kings. Finally, he chose an ancient stone. The ancient stone was reddish-brown in color, and there seemed to be blood flowing within it. It looked like a scorpion, and the Tao aura it emitted was also the weakest. Therefore, its price was also the lowest. It was only 100,000 pure yang pills. I thought you would choose some precious ancient stone. I didn't expect you to choose the cheapest scorpion stone. Qin Yang sneered and said, You don't believe that there is a treasure inside? Why don't we have a bet? Ling Xiao glanced at Qin Yang and sneered. Chen Yang's face instantly froze. Although he wanted to kill Ling Xiao, he was also afraid of Ling Xiao. This young man seemed to have a pair of eyes that could see through things and see the treasures inside the ancient stone. Naturally, he didn't dare to bet with Ling Xiao. He snorted and turned his head, pretending that he didn't hear Ling Xiao's words. My young friend, we have seen this scorpion stone before. This ancient stone is either a waste stone or a treasure. It is very risky. My young friend, don't you want to think about it? The first elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion said with a smile. I want to give it a try. Ling Xiao said with a smile. He chose this scorpion stone because although the fluctuation of the wordless heavenly book wasn't the strongest, it was very similar to the soul-breaking stone that opened the longevity cicada. Ling Xiao speculated that there might be a treasure that could increase one's lifespan inside. The palace master of the Heavenly King Palace was an old man with white hair and beard. He sat cross-legged in the Heavenly King Palace with his eyes closed. Even when the crowd arrived, he didn't have any reaction. Ling Xiao could see that even Qin Yang was afraid of this old man. Obviously, this old man's identity was not ordinary. Ling Xiao handed over 100,000 pure yang dawn and prepared to cut the stone. Buzz. The scorpion stone was slowly cut open by Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's hand was very steady. The stone was flying, and the scorpion stone became smaller and smaller. Many old monsters were looking forward to it. In the end, the scorpion stone suddenly cracked open. A mysterious mist filled the air, and a fishy smell assailed their nostrils. It seemed to contain a deadly poison. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. His heaven-devouring true qi swept out and dispersed the mist. A white jade scorpion appeared in the scorpion stone. The white jade scorpion looked very delicate. It was only the size of a finger, but it gave people a scalp-tingling feeling. It was extremely dangerous. It's the white jade longevity scorpion? Not bad, not bad. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He was a little surprised, but he also recognized the origin of this white jade scorpion. The white jade longevity scorpion was the same as the longevity cicada. They were both ancient spiritual insects. With the white jade longevity scorpion as the main ingredient, one could refine the white jade longevity scorpion pill. It was a peerless Tao pill. It could increase the lifespan of those below the Supreme Being realm by 560 years. Although the white jade longevity scorpion wasn't as precious as the longevity cicada, this white jade longevity scorpion was enough to refine 5 or 6 white jade longevity scorpion pills. He actually cut out a treasure that can increase lifespan? Although the white jade longevity scorpion is not as good as the longevity cicada, it's still not bad. Little friend Ling Xiao, I want this white jade longevity scorpion. I'll pay 200,000 pure yang dong. I'll pay 250,000 pure yang dong. Many of the old monster's eyes were filled with incomparable surprise. Originally, they all had the attitude of giving it a try. They did not expect Ling Xiao to use the white jade longevity scorpion as soon as he made his move. It was simply amazing. Little friend Ling Xiao, my treasure pavilion will pay 500,000 pure yang dong. The great elder of the treasure pavilion spoke, directly giving out a sky-high price. Many old monsters were stunned. They didn't expect the great elder of the treasure pavilion to be so bold. 500,000 pure yang dong was almost more than the value of the white jade longevity scorpion. It was enough to buy a supreme being pill. However, this was a treasure that could increase one's lifespan. It couldn't be measured with an ordinary price. Everyone, if little friend Ling Xiao sells the white jade longevity scorpion to this old man, after this old man finds an alchemy grandmaster to refine the white jade longevity scorpion pill, we will auction it 3 days later. What do you think? The great elder of the treasure pavilion said with a smile. Chapter 504. Seeing that all the old monsters had agreed, Ling Xiao naturally had no objections. He sold the white jade longevity scorpion to the great elder of the precious treasure pavilion. Chen Yang's face instantly turned ugly. He felt that Ling Xiao was more and more unfathomable. Even if the great young master of the Nantian family came, could he really surpass Ling Xiao with his purple chi psychic technique? This time, even Chen Yang was a little hesitant. Continue. Ling Xiao, empty all the ancient stones in the Heavenly King's palace. The old goat and Taoist Wu Yang were completely boiling. Their eyes were shining with excitement. This was a business without any cost. Ling Xiao could earn hundreds of thousands of pure yang pills by selling all the treasures in the Heavenly King's palace to these old monsters. However, it seemed easy. If he spent hundreds of thousands of pure yang pills and got nothing, it would be a total loss. In the end, Ling Xiao had the confidence to do so. Okay, continue. Ling Xiao looked at Chen Yang with a faint smile. He was very confident now. Even if the assassin wasn't sent by Chen Yang, he definitely had something to do with him. In addition to the pure yang pills on Ling Xiao, he had more than 700,000 pure yang pills. This time, he didn't hold back and directly chose 5 ancient stones. These 5 ancient stones weren't big. The biggest one was only half the height of a person, and the smallest one was the size of a fist. Adding them up, Ling Xiao spent all of his 700,000 pure yang pills. 5 ancient stones at a time? Young friend Ling is really daring. Even the great elder of the precious treasure pavilion was shocked by Ling Xiao's daring. Young friend Ling, continue. It's best if you can get more treasures that can increase your lifespan. Young friend Ling, as long as it's treasures you cut, will take as many as you have. The old monsters also began to clamor, looking forward to seeing how many miracles Ling Xiao could create. The first ancient stone was quickly cut open. Psst. Longevity grass. Another treasure that can increase my lifespan. An old monster exclaimed. His eyes were filled with excitement. The life wheelgrass was a divine herb that could extend one's lifespan by at least 1,000 years. Although the life wheel grass that Ling Xiao cut out had been sealed for a very long time, it could still extend one's lifespan by at least 300 years. Very soon, the life wheel grass was bought by an old monster for 500,000 pure yang pills. Don't tell me that the remaining 4 ancient stones also contain treasures that can increase one's lifespan? Those old monsters looked at each other, revealing an incomparably crazy thought. Sure enough, Ling Xiao cut open the remaining 4 ancient stones in one go. Inside, multicolored light was dense, and the aura of treasures filled the air. They actually all contained supreme treasures. A 60-year Dao core, Dao soul lotus, Tanyuan spirit turtle, longevity bamboo. These 4 treasures all had the miraculous effect of increasing one's lifespan. The 60-year Dao pill was a peerless Dao pill, a spirit pill from the ancient era that had long been lost. It could increase one's lifespan by 1060 years to 600 years. The Dao soul lotus could nurture the soul. It was a supreme divine medicine that could seize life from the heavens and increase one's lifespan by 500 years. The Tianyuan spirit turtle was an ancient spirit insect. Like the white jade longevity scorpion, it could be refined into a Tianyuan Dao pill. One Tianyuan Dao pill could increase one's lifespan by 660 years. The longevity bamboo was the most precious. It was an undamaged supreme divine medicine that was even more precious than the Dao soul lotus. It could increase one's lifespan by 1,000 years. All the old monsters were dumbfounded. Their eyes were filled with incomparable excitement. They were about to go crazy. As for Qin Yang, his face was as ugly as if his parents had died. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He did not dare to believe that the 5 ancient stones that Ling Xiao had chosen were all supreme treasures that could increase one's lifespan. Could this young man really see through the ancient stones? If this was the case, wouldn't all the ancient stones that contain treasures in the Heavenly King Palace be taken away by Ling Xiao? Young friend Ling, I want the Dao Soul Lotus. I'll pay 500,000 pure yang pills. The Tianyuan spirit turtle is mine. I'll pay 800,000 pure yang pills. None of you are allowed to fight with me for the longevity bamboo. I'll pay 1 million pure yang pills. The old monsters went crazy. They shouted their bids with all their might. Their eyes were filled with fervor. To them, supreme treasures that could increase one's lifespan were like a new life. They could live another life and have a chance to climb to the peak of martial arts. With these supreme treasures that could increase one's lifespan, these old monsters might not be able to break through to the venerable state, but at least there was hope, was there not? Everyone, don't worry. I've said that all the treasures that are cut out today will be sold. Ling Xiao smiled. Ha! All of you, come to me to hand over your pure yang pills. That dark-faced old man, you've made the highest bid. The Dao Soul Lotus is yours. The old goat beamed with joy. His eyes were filled with excitement. The dark-faced old man that the old goat mentioned was infuriated by the old goat. However, when he heard the old goat's next words, he immediately became excited. He hurriedly ran over and handed 900,000 pure yang pills to the old goat. Then he directly grabbed the Dao Soul Lotus and swallowed it. The dark-faced old man was only a 9th-level ruler. He was afraid that the Dao Soul Lotus would be snatched away by others, so he directly swallowed it. Buzz! The dark-faced old man's body surged with divine light and green light. A powerful vitality burst out. His white hair began to turn black, and his blood qi began to flow. It was incomparably majestic. In the end, the dark-faced old man turned into a dark-faced middle-aged man at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was as if a mysterious power had awakened in his body, allowing him to break through to half-step to the venerable state in an instant. Or rather, returning to half-step to the venerable state and gaining 500 years of lifespan out of thin air made the dark-faced man extremely excited. Young friend Ling, I Xiong Lao Hei, owe you a favor. In the future, as long as it's within my ability, I won't refuse to help you. The dark-faced man bowed deeply at Ling Xiao and said excitedly. Ling Xiao could tell that the dark-faced man's original form was a black bear spirit. His blood qi had dried up, and his cultivation had regressed. Now that he had consumed the Dao Soul Lotus, He had almost returned to his peak state. Elder Xiong, there's no need to be so polite, Ling Xiao said with a smile. When the remaining old monsters saw the changes in Xiong Laohe, they all became even crazier. In the end, the 60-year Dao core was snatched by a white-robed old man for a sky-high price of 1 million pure yang pills. After consuming it, he also turned into a white-robed, white-haired middle-aged man. His face was heroic and his eyes were like stars. Sword intent filled his body, and his sharpness was unparalleled. He had also returned to half-step to the venerable state. This was a sword cultivator named Jian Bumi. He was actually an elder of the Sword God Pavilion. He also expressed his deep gratitude to Ling Xiao. The Tianyuan spirit turtle was obtained by an elder of the Walkabout sect. He bid 1 million pure yang pills to refine it into the Tianyuan Dao core. The competition for the longevity bamboo was the most intense because it could increase one's lifespan by 1,000 years. After many rounds of bidding, it was obtained by an ancient monk wearing a kasaya with a Buddhist light behind his head. He bid 2,300,000 pure yang pills. After the ancient monk consumed the longevity bamboo, he actually turned into a handsome young monk. He wore a white robe and a brocade kasaya. He held a Buddhist staff in his hand and chanted Buddhist mantras. His body was surrounded by a mysterious Buddhist light, and a resplendent light appeared between his eyebrows. Chapter 505. Benefactor Ling, I am the Dharma idol of the Great Leiyin Temple. Thank you for the treasures. If you have time, please visit the Great Leiyin Temple. Benefactor Ling has the root of wisdom and is fated with Buddhism. The ancient monk smiled faintly at Ling Xiao. Thank you, Great Master. I will definitely visit the Great Leiyin Temple when I have time. Ling Xiao was a little surprised. He did not expect the Great Leiyin Temple to appear. The Great Leiyin Temple was extremely mysterious. It was said that they were not much weaker than the War God Temple. Buddhist emperors were called arhats, supremes were called bodhisattvas, and supremes were called Buddhas. It was said that the Great Leiyin Temple had 500 arhats, 18 bodhisattvas, and 3 Buddhas. Their strength was unfathomable. In comparison, one of the 2 temples, Ming Wang Temple, would often appear in the War God continent to preach, while the Great Leiyin Temple was rarely seen. The treasures from the 5 ancient stones were worth a whopping 7 million pure yang pills for Ling Xiao. The pure yang pills in the storage ring had become a river of pure yang pills. The old goat and Taoist Wu Yang were grinning from ear to ear. Chen Yang's face turned even uglier. He felt like his heart was bleeding. Although there were many ancient stones in the Heavenly King Palace, there weren't many that contained treasures. Many of the ancient stones seemed to be filled with Tao intent and intertwined with the laws. It was very likely that there would be nothing left after being cut. If Ling Xiao really had the ability to see through the ancient stones and cut out all the treasures, the Southern Sky Temple would be surpassed by the Precious Treasure Pavilion. Without the Heavenly King Palace, the Southern Sky Temple would lose a huge trump card. Even the old man in the Heavenly King Palace was startled by Ling Xiao's continuous cutting of treasures. His eyes were filled with tricolored divine light as he looked at Ling Xiao indifferently. Ling Xiao's body trembled. He felt like his soul was being frozen. He coldly looked at the old man. This old man was unfathomable. Even among the half-step supremes, he was considered a top-notch expert. Ling Xiao clearly saw a trace of coldness and warning in his eyes. Ling Xiao did not have the slightest fear in his heart. Instead, he felt a kind of madness. He indifferently looked at Chen Yang and said, I still want to choose ancient stones. These 7 million pure yang pills are all yours. What? Ling Xiao's decision caused many old monsters, including the old goat and Taoist Wu Yang, to tremble. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. With 7 million pure yang pills, other than the goddess stone, he could probably buy more than 20 ancient stones. Was Ling Xiao really planning to empty the Heavenly King Palace of all the treasures? Young friend Ling, well done. I support you. It would be best if you can take all the treasures of the Southern Sky Temple today. I support you. Many of the old monsters were eager to see the world in chaos. They laughed loudly, especially Xiong Laohei and Jian Bumi, who expressed their support for Ling Xiao. Yang Chen's face twitched. The anger in his eyes seemed to be about to spurt out. "Martial uncle, what should we do?" Chen Yang stood in front of the white-haired old man and said bitterly. "It doesn't matter, let him choose. I want him to spit out whatever he has eaten from my Nantian family." The old man looked deeply at Ling Xiao. His eyes were filled with coldness. With a wave of his hand, he kept all the pure yang pills and closed his eyes again. "Ling Xiao, that old man is very powerful. I'm afraid that even the great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion and Granny Gui together are no match for him. You have to be careful." The old goat transmitted his voice to Ling Xiao. "I just passed the tribulation of 2 elephants. Since I've already offended him, what's there to be afraid of? The treasures in the Heavenly King Palace today are mine." Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of coldness as he spoke slowly. "All right, let's fight it out with them. Young friend, don't worry. I'll kill whoever dares to touch you first," Taoist Wu Yang said heroically. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He ignored Yang Chen and the old man's expressions and continued to choose ancient stones. Ling Xiao walked around the Heavenly King Palace and chose the 5 ancient stones that caused the wordless Heavenly Book to react the most strongly. These 5 ancient stones looked extraordinary. Dao intent intertwined and dazzled. Each ancient stone was worth millions of pure yang pills, which was enough for Ling Xiao to spend all of his 7 million pure yang pills. "Young friend, these 5 ancient stones don't look ordinary. However, when it comes to gambling on stones, one cut is life and one cut is death. They may contain precious treasures, but they may also contain nothing. Are you sure you want to cut them open here?" The great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion smiled faintly. Ling Xiao nodded and said, "That's right. I'll cut them open here." Ling Xiao's eyes shone brightly. He could feel that the treasures in these 5 ancient stones should be the most precious items in the entire Heavenly King Palace. In other words, they should be the most precious ancient stone apart from the Goddess Stone. This was because the Goddess Stone had the strongest reaction to the wordless Heavenly Book. However, the Goddess Stone was too expensive. The astronomical price of 30 million pure yang pills made Ling Xiao sigh. Ling Xiao naturally wouldn't let go of such a good opportunity to attack the Nantian family. "Hold on." At this moment, the door of the Heavenly King Palace was pushed open. An indifferent and cold voice was heard. A few young men with imposing appearances walked in from outside the Heavenly King Palace. They looked extraordinary and exuded a powerful aura as they walked in. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. The Nantian sword, the ravenous wolf Starchild, and the second prince were among them. In the middle of them was a young man in a purple robe. He had a handsome figure. He looked to be in his 20s. His body was strong and his skin was crystal clear. His face was very handsome. In his bright eyes, there seemed to be the scene of the rising sun. Purple clouds filled the air and he looked mysterious. His body was shrouded in purple clouds. As he stood there, he looked like a heavenly emperor who was out on patrol. He had a peerless aura that made others feel inferior. Even the ravenous wolf Starchild, who was also a peerless genius, was slightly inferior to this young man. South Celestial Venerable. The great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion's eyes shone brightly as he revealed the young man's identity. Kid, the South Celestial Venerable is the #1 genius of the Nantian family. He condensed the Celestial Venerable Dharma idol with 81 great abilities. His strength is unfathomable and he can be considered as invincible among his peers. Moreover, he specializes in the purple cloud spiritual technique and can see through all fabrications. You have to be careful. Granny Gui transmitted her voice to Ling Xiao. Her voice was solemn. South Celestial Venerable? A mere monarch realm kid dares to call himself a Celestial Venerable? What arrogance! The old goat's eyes revealed a trace of displeasure. This kid is very strong. That pair of eyes of his are very powerful. Taoist Wu Yang also said slowly. The South Celestial Venerable's eyes were filled with purple clouds. They were indifferent and cold. It was a kind of indifference that looked down on everyone as if they were ants. Mysterious laws intertwined as if he could see through everything. Ling Xiao, do you dare to make a bet with us? My elder brother is a peerless genius of the war god continent. His purple cloud spiritual technique is unparalleled in the world. It's not something your lousy stone gambling skills can compare to. If you're afraid, kneel down and kowtow to apologize. Chapter 506. Ling Xiao squinted his eyes and glanced at South Celestial Venerable. How do you want to bet? In Ling Xiao's previous life, he had never heard of the Purple Cloud's spirit communication art. Rumor has it that this Purple Cloud's spirit communication art was a supreme technique accidentally obtained by the Nantian clan. It was extremely terrifying, and Ling Xiao could feel the extraordinariness of South Celestial Venerable's eyes. This Purple Cloud spirit communication art was probably on par with Ling Xiao's heavenly star god eyes. South Celestial Venerable looked at Ling Xiao indifferently. The purple cloud in his eyes made him seem indifferent. It was as if a mysterious light beam shot out and wanted to see through Ling Xiao. Stone gambling. South Celestial Venerable said indifferently. There was a slight ripple in his eyes as he realized that he couldn't see through Ling Xiao. Let's make a bet. If you win, this goddess stone is yours. As soon as South Celestial Venerable said that, everyone took a deep breath. The goddess stone was the treasure of the heavenly King Hall. It wasn't an exaggeration to call it the treasure of the South Sky Temple. It was worth 30 million pure yang pills. In other words, if Ling Xiao defeated South Celestial Venerable, he would immediately get the goddess stone worth 30 million pure yang pills. If the goddess stone really contained a supreme treasure, it would definitely be worth more than 30 million pure yang pills. There was even a legend that the goddess stone and the most mysterious heavenly god stone in Heavenly God City were excavated together. Even the precious treasure pavilion didn't have such a precious stone. Goddess stone. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He couldn't see through the goddess stone at all, as if it was covered by a layer of fog. However, the wordless heavenly book's reaction was very intense. If you lose, I will accept your slave seal. You will be my slave for 10 years. After 10 years, I will give you back your freedom. South Celestial Venerable's eyes had a hint of hidden passion. He looked at Ling Xiao as if he was looking at a supreme treasure. Ling Xiao didn't like that gaze. Implant a slave mark and become a slave for 10 years? Many old monsters were stunned. They thought South Celestial Venerable wanted Ling Xiao's life. They didn't expect him to only be a slave for 10 years. It seemed like he wanted to let Ling Xiao go. Bah, 10 years? Who do you think you are? If I win, I'll give you a broken stone. If I lose, I'll be your slave for 10 years. You really have a good plan. The old goat couldn't hold it in any longer and sneered at South Celestial Venerable. Who was Ling Xiao? How could the number one supreme 10,000 years ago be a slave to Celestial Venerable Nan? Although 30 million pure yang pills was precious, how could it compare to Ling Xiao's status? That's right. At the very least, if you lose, you'll be a slave for 10 years. Taoist Wu Yang sneered. In other people's eyes, this bet might be fair, but with the slave imprint planted in him, he would be a slave for 10 years. This meant that all of Ling Xiao's secrets would be known by Celestial Venerable South. What kind of bet? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, but he didn't refuse immediately. You and I will each find an ancient stone in Heavenly God City. We have one day. Right now, we are in Precious Treasure Pavilion's heaven-grade stone garden. We will cut open the ancient stones in front of everyone. Whoever finds the most valuable ancient stone will be the winner. South Celestial Venerable faintly glanced at Ling Xiao. His voice was very calm and had a very confident attitude. Looking for an ancient stone in Heavenly God City? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. This stone gambling method seemed fair, but the Nantian family was a stone gambling family. Other than the goddess stone, there were probably many other precious ancient stones. If Ling Xiao were to search aimlessly for one day, it would be like searching for a needle in a haystack. In addition, South Celestial Venerable cultivated the purple cheese spiritual art. It would be very difficult to win against him. However, Ling Xiao really wanted to gamble because he could faintly feel that the item in the goddess stone was very impressive. It might be very useful to him. You want to bet with me? Sure. However, a mere goddess stone isn't enough to exchange for 10 years of servitude. Ling Xiao glanced at South Celestial Venerable and sneered. Then what do you want? South Celestial Venerable frowned slightly. Ling Xiao said, very simple. If I win, other than the goddess stone, I want the purple chi spiritual art. What? Don't even think about it. South Sky Sword's expression changed as he blurted out with a trace of anger in his voice. The purple aura communication technique could be said to be one of the most precious secret techniques of the Nantian family. The Nantian sword was very clear about the price they had to pay to obtain this secret technique. It was very difficult for him to accept the purple aura communication technique. The purple chi spiritual art wasn't as simple as a supreme divine art. It even involved the secret of becoming a supreme and cultivating divine power. Brat, you're really delusional. You're not even satisfied with a goddess stone and want the purple chi spiritual art of the Nantian family? I'm afraid you won't be able to take it even if you have the life to take it. Chen Yang looked coldly at Ling Xiao, his voice extremely chilling. If you agree, then let's bet. If you don't, then don't disturb me from cutting the ancient stone. Ling Xiao smiled faintly with a very calm expression. The reason why Ling Xiao wanted the purple chi psychic art was because he had a sudden idea. He could vaguely feel that this purple chi psychic art was extraordinary. It contained ancient intent and the great Tao law. Since the Nantian family valued this secret art so much, he naturally had to obtain it. South Celestial Venerable remained silent for a moment before finally nodding. All right, I agree. South Celestial Venerable's position in the Nantian family was clearly not ordinary. After he agreed, even if Qin Yang and South Sky Sword were dissatisfied, they didn't say anything. If that's the case, then let's swear to the heavenly Tao. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. South Celestial Venerable used the name of the Nantian family and Ling Xiao used his own name to swear to the heavenly Tao. This meant that the bet had officially begun. Everyone became excited. This was a huge bet involving the goddess stone, which was worth 30 million pure yang pills, and the Nantian family's purple chi spiritual art. Even those old monsters were looking forward to this stone gambling. South Celestial Venerable was known as the #1 genius of the Nantian family in 1,000 years. He was the only peerless monster who had cultivated the purple chi spiritual art to perfection. He was known to be able to see through illusions and see through heaven and earth. His few stone gambling experiences had all caused a huge commotion. As for Ling Xiao, although this youth was only a rogue cultivator, every time he gambled, he would be able to cut out a supreme treasure. He definitely had supreme stone gambling skills, which made everyone look forward to it. This duel caused a stir in the entire Heavenly God City, almost overshadowing the limelight of the Heavenly God Conference. However, everyone believed that South Celestial Venerable had a higher chance of winning. After all, the purple chi spiritual art was world famous and the Nantian family had many precious ancient stones in their collection. Aside from the goddess stone, there were many other ancient stones. It would be very difficult for Ling Xiao to find an ancient stone that he could win in a day. Seniors, since this junior wants to participate in this gamble, I need a large amount of pure yang pills. Why don't I cut out all 5 ancient stones? If there are any treasures that you want, I'll sell them to you seniors. Ling Xiao agreed to this stone gambling, but he didn't forget about the 5 ancient stones he had just chosen. He smiled at the crowd. Ha, little brother, don't worry. We still have many pure yang pills. Whatever you cut out will definitely be a supreme treasure. Even if they don't want it, I'll take it. Xiong Laohe was the first to respond, laughing loudly. Count me in. Jian Bummy also agreed. Little friend Ling, don't worry. No matter how many treasures you cut out, our Precious Treasures Pavilion will take them all. The great elder of the Precious Treasures Pavilion also said with a smile. Nantian Sword and Qin Yang's expressions turned ugly. They didn't expect Ling Xiao to be so calm after agreeing to the gamble. He actually continued to cut out the ancient stones. If he really cut out a treasure, it would be a slap to the Nantian family's face. South Celestial Venerable glanced at Ling Xiao indifferently. He wasn't angry and his expression was still indifferent. However, a strange light flickered in his eyes, burning with anticipation. Chapter 507. Without any hesitation, Ling Xiao slowly cut open the 5 ancient stones that he had chosen. Buzz. Within the ancient stones, Tao intent filled the air. The mysterious power of laws intertwined with each other, like 5 pillars of divine light shooting up into the sky. The entire Sky King Palace was dazzling and mysterious. There were really 5 supreme treasures within the 5 ancient stones. A green lotus with a chaotic luster floated in the void, shrouded in a faint auspicious aura. A piece of black metal with Qilin patterns on it. It was the size of a fist and incomparably dazzling. The remaining 3 spiritual fruits were purple, golden, and silver respectively. Although they were cut from the 3 ancient stones, they seemed to have originated from the same source. There was a mysterious aura intertwining between them. Great Tao green lotus, Qilin treasure metal, purple sun fruit, golden sun fruit, and silver sun fruit. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he recognized the origins of these 5 supreme treasures. The great Tao green lotus was a supreme sacred medicine. The great Tao green lotus seeds could be used to refine the great Tao supreme pill, allowing supreme being experts to break through their cultivation. It was incomparably precious. The Qilin treasure metal was said to have nurtured the blood of the Qilin divine spirit. It could even be used to refine supreme divine weapons. It was one of the top treasured metals in the war god continent. The violet sun fruit, gold sun fruit, and silver sun fruit caused these old monsters to become excited. This was because these 3 spirit fruits were all supreme divine medicines. They were the fruits of the legendary Fusang god tree, a primordial spiritual root. They could refine a pure young primordial spirit and at the same time extend one's lifespan by 1,000 years. One had to know that to become a supreme being, refining a pure young yuan spirit was one of the most difficult stages. Many half-step supreme beings were stuck at this stage. The old monsters also recognized the origins of these 5 supreme treasures, especially the purple sun fruit, golden sun fruit, and silver sun fruit. Their breathing quickened, and their eyes were filled with excitement. These 3 spiritual fruits were even more precious than the 1,000-life bamboo that Ling Xiao had cut out. How could these old monsters not go crazy? The great Tao green lotus was also very precious. It could even be said to be the most precious of these 5 treasures. The great Tao supreme pill had a chance of transforming one's physical body, allowing one to possess the great Tao body. That was also one of the top supreme being physiques in the war god continent. Moreover, the Grand Tao Green Lotus could also extend one's lifespan by 500 years. A Grand Tao Green Lotus would be very beneficial for a half-step supremacy to overcome the 1 divine image tribulation and the 2 divine image tribulation. Purple sun fruit, gold sun fruit, and silver sun fruit. This old man wants them. A passionate and excited voice rang out. The white-haired old man in the Sky King's palace could no longer remain calm. He opened his eyes. They shone brightly and were filled with great excitement. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. This old man had already passed the 2nd divine tribulation. If he could get his hands on these 3 spiritual fruits, he would definitely be able to pass through the 3rd divine tribulation. Amongst the half-step supremes, he could be considered as one of the strongest. No wonder he was so agitated. I presume there's no need for me to explain the value of these 5 treasures. Everyone, please make your bids. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and ignored the old man. He spoke to the group of old monsters in front of him. Brat, I said I want these 3 spirit fruits. Don't tell me you didn't hear me? The white-haired old man's eyes turned cold as he looked at Ling Xiao coldly. My apologies, these 3 spiritual fruits were cut by me. I can sell them to whoever I want. Therefore, I'm not willing to sell them to you. Are you going to bite me? Ling Xiao smiled faintly as if he didn't see the coldness in the old man's eyes. That's right. Old man, are you going to snatch them by force? With so many people here, if you dare to make a move, your Nantian family can be removed from the war god continent. The old goat sneered. He was very unhappy with the white-haired old man's bossy attitude. Ha, little friend Ling is right. These 3 spiritual fruits are ours. Whoever dares to snatch them will be our enemy. The group of old monsters sneered and expressed their firm support for Ling Xiao. What a joke! The purple sun fruit, gold sun fruit, and silver sun fruit could not only refine a pure young primordial spirit, but also extend one's lifespan by 1,000 years. It could be said that these old monsters valued them the most. If anyone dared to snatch them, these old monsters would fight with their lives on the line. So what if this white-haired old man had already passed the second divine tribulation? With so many old monsters working together, they could easily toy with him to death. Good, good, good. Ling Xiao, if that's the case, this old man will remember you. The white-haired old man was so angry that he laughed. He looked deeply at Ling Xiao, his eyes filled with murderous intent. South Sky Sword, Qin Yang, and the others also glared at Ling Xiao, their eyes filled with cold murderous intent. Only South Celestial Venerable looked at Ling Xiao with interest. It was as if nothing could affect his mood. The second prince and the greedy wolf Starchild were overjoyed. This white-haired old man was called Nan Tianqi. He was one of the strongest experts of the Nantian family in Heavenly God City. Since Ling Xiao had offended Nan Tianqi, it meant that there was no more reconciliation between Ling Xiao and the Nantian family. The second prince even thought that Nan Tianqi would suddenly go berserk and kill Ling Xiao to vent his anger. Unfortunately, Nan Tianqi only looked at Ling Xiao coldly before closing his eyes again. Little friend Ling, I'll pay 2 million pure yang pills for the purple sun fruit. Xiong Laohe couldn't bear it anymore and jumped out. Xiong Laohe, you already have the Tao Soul Lotus. Why are you still fighting with us for the 3 spiritual fruits? The old monsters glared at Xiong Laohe. Hee hee, no one would think that 3 spiritual fruits are too little. I'm rich. If you have the ability, then bid. Xiong Laohe sneered. I'll pay 2,300,000 pure yang pills. 2,600,000. I want the great Tao Green Lotus. I'll pay 3 million pure yang pills. The appearance of these 5 supreme treasures caused the old monsters to start bidding crazily. A half-step martial saint was still worth a few million pure yang pills. But if that was the case, a single violet sun fruit would probably deplete all of their wealth. The competition between the old monsters made the old goat and Taoist Wuliang even more excited. It was as if they could see countless pure yang pills being thrown at them. In the end, after an intense bidding war, the 5 supreme treasures were all sold by Ling Xiao except for the Qilin treasure gold. The great Tao Green Lotus was bought by the great elder of the precious treasure pavilion. He actually offered a sky-high price of 5 million pure yang pills. As for the purple sun fruit, gold sun fruit, and silver sun fruit, they were all snatched up by the 3 old monsters. Each of them was sold for a sky-high price of 3 million pure yang pills. In the end, except for the Qilin treasure gold in Ling Xiao's hands, the 4 supreme treasures were sold for a total of 14 million pure yang pills. South Sky Sword, Qin Yang, and the others' faces turned green. Their hearts were bleeding. Chapter 508. Little friend Ling, how about selling the Qilin treasure medal to me? This old man offers 3 million pure yang pills. The great elder of the precious treasure pavilion coveted the Qilin treasure medal in Ling Xiao's hands. 3 million pure yang pills was enough to buy a supreme weapon. However, supreme weapons were priceless, and most people wouldn't sell them. Its actual value would definitely be much higher. No need, I still have use for this Qilin treasure medal. Ling Xiao smiled and rejected the offer. The heaven-devouring sword was heavily damaged after the calamity 10,000 years ago. Ling Xiao was prepared to refine the heaven-devouring sword once he regained his cultivation from his previous life. The Qilin treasure medal was indeed a supreme divine material. It was incomparably precious and was a supreme treasure for refining legendary divine weapons. Ling Xiao naturally wouldn't sell it just like that. The great elder of the precious treasure pavilion's eyes were filled with pity. However, he had gained enough today. Moreover, he had dealt a heavy blow to the Southern Sky House, leaving him with a satisfied smile. The old goat and Taoist Wuliang were grinning from ear to ear. Looking at the river of pure yang pills in their storage rings, their eyes lit up and their saliva flowed out. Although Nantianchi looked calm, the corners of his mouth were twitching slightly. One could see the depression and anger in his heart. The three old monsters also knew how precious the purple sun fruit, golden sun fruit, and silver sun fruit were, so they directly swallowed them in the heavenly king palace. The effect was obvious. Amidst the resplendent light, they recovered their youthful appearance and their cultivation returned to the half-step supreme being realm. The three old monsters expressed their gratitude to Ling Xiao. After all, the purple sun fruit, gold sun fruit, and silver sun fruit were incomparably precious. If Ling Xiao were to auction them off, the price would only be higher. Moreover, they would definitely be snatched away by those martial Dao holy lands and might not fall into their hands. Let's go! Ling Xiao smiled at the old goat, Taoist Wu Yang, and the moon deity. He had gained a lot this time, so he was prepared to leave the southern sky house. 14 million pure yang pills could be considered as Ling Xiao venting his anger. Moreover, he had more important things to do next. That was to choose an ancient stone and have a shocking gamble with South Celestial Venerable. Little friend Ling, there are many precious ancient stones in the Precious Treasure Pavilion's Heaven Stone Garden. Do you want to take a look? The Precious Treasure Pavilion's great elder said enthusiastically. All right. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and left the southern sky chamber with the great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion. It was as if he did not see the murderous gazes of Southern Sky Sword and Qin Yang. Big Brother, you must win against this brat tomorrow. When he becomes Big Brother's slave, I will torture him until he begs for death. Southern Sky Sword said fiercely. His eyes were filled with coldness. Don't worry, he can't win. South Celestial Venerable smiled faintly, his eyes filled with confidence. That's right, he can't win. Chen Yang also said coldly, your big brother's purple chi psychic art has already reached perfection. Although those ancient stones in the heaven-level stone garden of the treasure pavilion are precious, they are nothing compared to the one in our Nantian family. South Sky Sword was stunned. He immediately realized that South Celestial Venerable dared to propose this bet because he was absolutely confident. South Celestial Venerable had already seen the entire heavenly god city. He knew all the ancient stones in the heaven-grade stone garden very well. If Ling Xiao dared to choose an ancient stone in the heaven-grade stone garden, he would definitely lose. I wish Brother Nantian a victory tomorrow. We will definitely go and see Ling Xiao's face when he loses. It will definitely be interesting. Second Prince said faintly. Greedy Wolf Star Child nodded and said, that's right. This brat dared to kill the people of the Star Palace. He deserves to die. However, if he becomes Brother Nanshan's slave, I'm afraid it will be worse than killing him. South Celestial Venerable smiled faintly and muttered in a voice that only he could hear, Ling Xiao, I hope that the item on you won't disappoint me. After Ling Xiao left the southern sky chamber, the old monsters all expressed that they would support Ling Xiao the next day. After saying that, they bade farewell in a hurry. They still needed to refine the treasure that they had obtained from Ling Xiao to break through. Ling Xiao followed the great elder of the treasure pavilion to the heaven-grade stone garden of the treasure pavilion. In the heaven-grade stone garden, there were more than 2,000 ancient stones. They were placed in the garden that was filled with glowing lights and auspicious air. They were of different shapes and every single one of them was extremely precious. However, from Ling Xiao's point of view, the ancient stones were slightly inferior to the ones in the King of Heaven Hall. Ling Xiao also guessed South Celestial Venerable's thoughts. Since Purple Cloud's spiritual skill was so terrifying, South Celestial Venerable probably knew the ancient stones in the heaven-grade stone garden like the back of his hand. If Ling Xiao were to choose an ancient stone in the heaven-grade stone garden, he would definitely lose. The reason why Ling Xiao wanted to take a look was to understand the sensitivity of the wordless heavenly book so that he could determine the preciousness of the treasure in the ancient stone. The reason why Ling Xiao dared to gamble with South Celestial Venerable was because the wordless heavenly book told Ling Xiao that in the Heaven God City, other than the most precious Heaven God stone, there was another extremely precious ancient stone. The wordless heavenly book was so excited that it almost jumped out of Ling Xiao's consciousness. What do you think of these ancient stones? The great elder of the treasure pavilion looked at Ling Xiao with anticipation. Not bad. But since we have a day, I'm going to try my luck at the various gambling dens and see if I can find other ancient stones. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Good. I believe that the final winner will be young friend Ling. However, young friend Ling, you must be careful. That old man Nantianchi is narrow-minded. Although he won't dare to act rashly in Heaven God City, you must still be prepared. The great elder of the treasure pavilion warned. When he mentioned Nantianchi, his expression turned serious. Many thanks, great elder. I will be careful. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, a sharp glint flashing in his eyes. If that old fart dares to touch young friend Ling, this old woman will kill him first. Granny Gui sneered. Ling Xiao and the others left the precious treasures pavilion and wandered aimlessly around Heavenly God City. They went to many gambling shops, and Ling Xiao also looked at many ancient stones. As time passed, he didn't look worried at all. Ling Xiao, the sky is dark. Half the time has passed. If you still can't find an ancient stone, we will lose. The old goat couldn't help but remind him, a trace of worry in his eyes. It stopped. All right, let's go. Ling Xiao smiled. He saw a direction in the west of Heaven God City and walked in that direction. What stopped? Ling Xiao, don't keep me in suspense. Do you know some peerless ancient stone? Tell me quickly. The old goat chased after him, unwilling to give up. I'm not sure. Let's go take a look first. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. The reason why he had spun around for a few hours was because he had felt that the ancient stone that the wordless heavenly book had sensed was actually moving. It was sometimes far and sometimes close, sometimes fast and sometimes slow. Just now, it had finally stopped. Ling Xiao guessed that Gu Shi must have been brought around by someone, which was why he was like this. He was also very curious. What kind of ancient stone could make the wordless heavenly book so excited? The old goat, Taoist Wuliang, and Moon Goddess saw that Ling Xiao was unwilling to say more and didn't ask. They followed Ling Xiao to the west of the city and stopped in front of an ordinary courtyard house. It's him. Chapter 509. The sky was dark. A skinny old man in a shabby Taoist robe was sitting in the courtyard. He looked very sloppy. He held a pipe in his hand, and smoke rose in spirals. The flickering smoke illuminated his old face. Ling Xiao was surprised because this skinny old man was the same old man who had set up a stall to sell soul-breaking stones when he first entered Heavenly God City. You're here? The skinny old man glanced at Ling Xiao indifferently. His turbid eyes flashed as if he wasn't surprised that Ling Xiao would come. You knew I would come here? Ling Xiao was slightly surprised. The skinny old man slowly said, Come in and talk. Ling Xiao, the old goat, and the others walked into the courtyard. This was a very ordinary-looking courtyard. Smoke rose from the kitchen, and a girl who looked to be about 8 or 9 years old with a face covered in dust poured rice into a pot. She struggled to light the fire and cook. Soon, a faint fragrance of rice wafted through the air. Young man, I want to talk to you alone. How about it? The skinny old man glanced at Ling Xiao and said indifferently, Okay. Ling Xiao looked deeply at the skinny old man. He didn't sense any malice from him, and this old man gave him a very familiar feeling. Ling Xiao, this old man isn't simple. Be careful. We'll wait for you outside. Taoist Wuliang glanced at the skinny old man with some fear and said slowly, Don't worry. Ling Xiao gave them a reassuring look. Although the old goat, the moon goddess, and the others didn't know why Ling Xiao had come to this small courtyard, they didn't ask and went outside. With a wave of the old man's hand, a mysterious barrier immediately enveloped the courtyard, isolating their auras and voices. You're Ling Xiao, right? I didn't expect you to offend the Nantian family as soon as you arrived in Heavenly God City. Not bad, not bad. The skinny old man raised his head and glanced at Ling Xiao. His cold eyes contained a trace of gentleness. Do you have a grudge against the Nantian family? Ling Xiao's eyes moved. He could feel the anger in the skinny old man's voice when he mentioned the Nantian family. Moreover, although the old man's aura was unfathomable, Ling Xiao could still sense that the old man was heavily injured. He was like a candle in the wind, as if something was eating away at his life force. A heavily injured old man living in seclusion in Heavenly God City with an 8 or 9-year-old girl, occasionally selling soul-breaking stones. No matter how one looked at it, it was very strange. Grudge? You're right. I have a blood feud with the Nantian family. The skinny old man said faintly. His eyes flashed with a trace of emotion, but his voice was very calm. The skinny old man smiled and changed the topic. Old man. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He was curious about the old man's identity. If I'm not wrong, your stone gambling skills aren't strong. You don't even know any stone gambling skills. You just have a supreme treasure that can sense ancient stones. That's why you were able to cut out a supreme treasure, right? The old man stood up and looked at Ling Xiao as he spoke slowly. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He saw a trace of mysterious purple qi permeating the elder's turbid eyes. There were Dao laws intertwining and hidden Dao rhymes. It was exactly the same as how South Celestial Venerable looked at him, but there were some differences. You also know the purple gas psychic technique? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He suddenly thought of a family on the War God continent. 10,000 years ago, on the War God continent, there was a feng shui aristocratic family called the Li clan. Every member of the Li clan was a feng shui master and specialized in the Dao of feng shui. They were incomparably mysterious. However, it was said that the feng shui masters were punished by the heavens. The strongest person in the sect was only a half-step supreme. They couldn't attain the supreme Dao. The Li family's dragon quake scripture was famous in the world. The Li family had good relations with many martial Dao sacred grounds. The Li family's feng shui masters were also treated as distinguished guests. In Ling Xiao's previous life, he had many interactions with the Li family. He once invited the Li family's feng shui masters to determine the dragon vein for the Longevity Mountain. He had some understanding of the Dragon Quake scripture. The Dragon Quake scripture was a supreme classic that comprehended the Tao of heaven and earth, feng shui, and the principles of yin and yang. The wonders of the purple gas psychic technique made Ling Xiao associate it with the Dragon Quake scripture. I don't know the purple gas psychic technique, but the feng shui art of myriad phenomena. The old man said faintly with a self-mocking smile. Young man, let me tell you a story. The old man said calmly. It was as though he treated Ling Xiao as an old friend. He didn't put his guard up and started to tell the story slowly. 2,000 years ago, Li Chunfeng and Nantianjue were good friends. The two of them comprehended the secrets of martial Dao together. They wanted to unravel the biggest secret of becoming a true god. Li Chunfeng used his family's supreme secret technique to comprehend two great secret techniques. If he used the supreme secret technique together, he would be able to break through the peak of martial Dao and become a true god. He would obtain eternal life. Li Chunfeng didn't hold anything back from Nantianjue. He even imparted the supreme secret technique to him. However, Nantianjue wanted to take the supreme secret technique and the two great secret techniques for himself. He wanted to kill Li Chunfeng and steal the secret techniques. Nantianjue's cultivation was very strong. He was so strong that Li Chunfeng was no match for him. Furthermore, Li Chunfeng didn't expect Nantianjue to attack him. In the end, one of the two great secret techniques was stolen by Nantianjue. Nantianjue even slaughtered Li Chunfeng's family in a frenzy. After that, Li Chunfeng faked his death to escape. However, Nantianjue didn't give up on finding the other great secret technique even after countless years. This was because only by combining the two great secret techniques together with the supreme secret technique of Li Chunfeng's family could the secret of becoming a true god be unraveled. Therefore, the Li family was mercilessly suppressed by Nantianjue. Many of their family members were captured and had their souls extracted. All of this was to find the whereabouts of the other great secret technique. The skinny old man said slowly. His voice was very calm, but Ling Xiao could see a trace of sadness and anger in the old man's eyes. After the skinny old man finished speaking, Ling Xiao sighed softly and said, "The Nantianjue that you mentioned should be the current family head of the Nantian family and also the grandfather of Celestial Venerable Nantianjue? And Li Chunfeng is you, old man." I didn't expect that the Li family, a feng shui family with a long history, would also suffer such a calamity. Ling Xiao sighed. In his previous life, he had interacted with the Li family many times. The Li family had also sent a feng shui grandmaster to participate in the design of the longevity sex dragon vein. It could be said that the entire 8 Desolates region was the work of the Li family. Chapter 5:10. You even know about the Li family? The skinny old man looked at Ling Xiao in surprise. After so many years, the Li family had almost become history. Other than the sacred grounds of martial arts, very few people knew about the Li family. The Li family's Dragon Quake scripture is famous. I heard that the Li family had a close relationship with sky-devouring Supreme 10,000 years ago. However, the Li family is usually very low profile and rarely appears in the War God continent. I didn't expect the Li family to have disappeared. Ling Xiao said slowly. He guessed that the purple aura communication technique was one of the 2 secret techniques that the skinny old man was talking about. Ling Xiao could see that Li Chuanfeng's cultivation was only half a step away from being a supreme. Although he might have passed the tribulation of 4 symbols, there was a terrifying corrosive force in his body that caused his cultivation to drop to the level of an emperor. Moreover, Li Chunfeng only had a few more years to live. For Li Chunfeng, if he couldn't take revenge before he died, he would not be able to rest in peace. However, Nan Tianjue was already a supreme 2,000 years ago. He was probably even more powerful now. The Nantian family was thriving. After obtaining the Dragon Quake scripture and the purple aura communication technique, they were about to replace the Li family as the new feng shui family on the War God continent. It was almost impossible for him to take revenge. Young friend, I didn't expect you to know about the Dragon Quake scripture. I won't hide it from you then. I am Li Chunfeng. 2,000 years ago, my cultivation was stuck at the tribulation of 4 symbols. However, due to the curse of the feng shui family, I couldn't break through to the level of a supreme. That was why I studied martial arts with Nan Tianjue, hoping to find the secret of becoming a god. However, I didn't expect. The skinny old man sighed softly. Although he looked calm on the surface, Ling Xiao could feel the pain and anger in his heart. His clan was exterminated, and his clan's treasure was snatched away. All of this was because he believed in his so-called best friend. He had probably spent every moment of the past 2,000 years in pain. Old sir, are you telling me all this because you want me to take revenge for you? I'm afraid you have overestimated me. Ling Xiao said slowly. My young friend, I, Li Chunfeng, am an expert in the art of feng shui. You're the only person I can't see through. It's as if you're not supposed to exist in this world. Only the dead have this kind of fate. However, you're a living person and you're only in your teens. I think you must have some unimaginable secrets. Li Chunfeng glanced at Ling Xiao indifferently. There was a glimmer in his cloudy eyes, but his words shocked Ling Xiao. The secret of his rebirth was Ling Xiao's biggest secret. Other than the old goat, no one else knew about it. However, Li Chunfeng could roughly guess that the heavenly path of feng shui was indeed terrifying. The old man in front of him had probably reached the transcendent realm in this aspect. Little friend, I have no interest in prying into your secrets. However, I believe that in your future path of martial arts, becoming a supreme being is definitely not the end. Your fate is indescribably noble. If you can obtain my Li family's Dragon Quake scripture, Purple Cloud spiritual technique, and nature's feng shui technique, it's not impossible for you to become the first person in history to become a deity. Li Chunfeng looked at Ling Xiao with a hint of fanaticism in his eyes as though he had seen a priceless treasure. Then what do you need me to do? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he said slowly. You just need to promise me 3 things. Not only will I teach you my Li family's Dragon Quake scripture, Purple Cloud spiritual technique, and nature's feng shui technique, but I'll also give you a peerless ancient stone. You'll definitely be able to defeat South Celestial Venerable. Li Chunfeng said. What are the conditions? First, kill South Tianjue for me if you can. Li Chunfeng looked at Ling Xiao and said seriously. Ling Xiao had already guessed this condition. Li Chunfeng probably hated South Tianjue to the core, but he didn't have the chance to take revenge. Sure. Ling Xiao agreed without hesitation. Even if Li Chunfeng didn't say anything, Ling Xiao wouldn't let South Tianjue off. He was an ungrateful and shameless person who betrayed his friends. Moreover, Ling Xiao had a feud with the Nantian family. Who knew when South Tianjue would appear? Second, help me take care of Luo Luo after I die. Li Chunfeng pointed at the little girl who was cooking with a gentle look in his eyes. Luo? Who's she to you? Ling Xiao's eyes flickered. He could feel that the little girl didn't have any cultivation, but there was a strange energy in her body. It seemed to contain some mysterious bloodline power. She's my granddaughter. Li Chunfeng smiled and said, 2,000 years ago, South Tianjue destroyed my Li family. I didn't have the chance to save anyone. Luo Luo wasn't in the family at that time, so she survived. I used the power of the dragon vein to seal her for 2,000 years. I only released her when I knew that my lifespan was reaching its end. That's why she's only 8 or 9 years old. Seal the power of the dragon vein? What a trick! Ling Xiao was shocked. He didn't expect Li Chunfeng to have such a trick up his sleeve. It's just a small trick. Luo Luo doesn't have any cultivation, so it's not difficult to seal her for 2,000 years. However, a powerful martial artist, especially one who has formed the martial path primordial spirit, can't rely on a seal to extend their lifespan. Li Chunfeng smiled and said nonchalantly, "Are you not going to let her enter the martial path?" Ling Xiao looked at Luo Luo and asked softly. Li Chunfeng's eyes were filled with love and reluctance. Luo Luo is my granddaughter. The burden of the Li family's revival will fall on her shoulders. However, I don't have time to teach her. So, the third condition is that I hope you can take her as your disciple. She has the most mysterious body constitution in the Li family. After you get the Dragon Quake scripture, use it to build her foundation. With the help of the purple qi spiritual skill and nature's feng shui, her cultivation will increase rapidly. You trust me that much? Aren't you afraid that I'll turn against you after I get the Dragon Quake scripture, purple qi spiritual skill and nature's feng shui? Ling Xiao said with a smile. I trust you. Moreover, I'm a feng shui master. I trust my judgment. Li Chunfeng's eyes were filled with confidence. What do you think? These 3 conditions aren't difficult for you to fulfill. Li Chunfeng looked at Ling Xiao expectantly. Ling Xiao thought for a while and nodded. All right, I promise you. Thank you. Li Chunfeng smiled. There was a hint of relief in his eyes. Come, I'll bring you to see that ancient stone first. This ancient stone is not inferior to the heavenly god stone at all. Chapter 5:11. The room was brightly lit and looked very ordinary. There was only a bed, a few tables and chairs. Other than that, there was nothing else. However, Ling Xiao felt a faint fluctuation of space in the room. Buzz. Li Chunfeng waved his sleeves, and ripples appeared in the space. A door of light appeared. Mustard dimensional space? Ling Xiao's eyes moved. A half-step supreme being expert could open up their own mustard dimensional space. Ling Xiao didn't expect Li Chunfeng to still have a mustard dimensional space after his cultivation fell. Let's go. If it wasn't for the mustard dimensional space, I would have been discovered by South Sky Ju. Li Chunfeng smiled faintly and led Ling Xiao into the mustard dimensional space. In the mustard dimensional space, the surroundings were chaotic. It looked like a real small world, but the laws were chaotic as if it would collapse at any time. Ling Xiao saw a strange ancient stone floating in the center of the mustard dimensional space. The ancient stone looked round and simple. It was like a star, emitting a silver glow. The surface of the stone was mottled and filled with Taoist rhymes. Streaks of silver lightning shot out from the stone, causing the surrounding chaotic void to become even more chaotic. A mysterious, ancient, and terrifying aura was emitted from the ancient stone. It had a terrifying power that could split the heavens and earth. Ling Xiao stood in front of the ancient stone and felt like an ant looking up at a divine dragon. He was so insignificant. The wordless heavenly book in his consciousness trembled violently and emitted waves of excitement. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao's suppression, it would have rushed out. 2,000 years ago, I comprehended the myriad geomancy art and purple aura spiritual art in the primitive ancient mine. This ancient stone was obtained from the deepest part of the primitive ancient mine. Li Chunfeng sighed softly and said slowly, "What's in this ancient stone?" Ling Xiao asked. "I don't know." Li Chunfeng smiled and said, "But this ancient stone can definitely defeat South Sky Venerable." "Are you so sure? Since you created the purple aura spiritual art, even you can't see what's in this ancient stone?" Ling Xiao asked in surprise. "How can it be so easy? As the saying goes, even immortals can't see through the stone, so how could I know?" Li Chunfeng shook his head. Purple Qi psychic technique senses the Qi of all things in the world. It uses the strength of Qi to determine the strength of the treasure inside the ancient stone, but it can't see what's inside the ancient stone. Of course, Celestial Venerable Nan can't do it either. Otherwise, why would they sell the ancient stones to others when they have so many of them? Ling Xiao nodded. If he did not possess a heaven-defying treasure like the wordless heavenly book, he would not have been able to accurately determine whether or not there was a treasure within the ancient stone. After all, from Ling Xiao's point of view, there were over 1,000 ancient stones in the entire Heavenly King Palace, but only about 100 of them had treasures. These ancient stones were incomparably precious, and one would have to pay a hefty price to obtain them. The Nantian family was a merchant, so they naturally wouldn't take such a huge risk. Then why are you so sure that this ancient stone is better than the one South Celestial Venerable chose? Ling Xiao asked in astonishment. Because the place where I comprehended the two secret skills was said to be the place where the God's stone was unearthed. It was a chaotic abyss, and I found two ancient stones. I gave one of them to South Celestial Venerable. That ancient stone is definitely not as good as this one. Li Chunfeng's eyes flashed as he said slowly, "I'm sure that South Celestial Venerable will definitely take out that ancient stone to bet with you. If he doesn't take out that ancient stone, he will definitely lose." Ling Xiao nodded. No wonder Li Chunfeng was so sure. Ling Xiao was even more curious now. What treasure was inside the ancient stone that made the wordless heavenly book so excited? Could it be related to the bronze coffin? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. The last time the wordless heavenly book was so excited was when they encountered the bronze coffin and the bronze divine palace. The bronze divine palace's location was mysterious, but it wasn't far from the primitive ancient mine. Could it be that there was a connection between the two? Ling Xiao pondered in his heart. The treasures in the ancient stone would naturally be revealed during the stone gambling tomorrow. However, I have to tell you one thing in advance. Although you can win by choosing this ancient stone, you will be in danger. South Celestial Venerable also knows that I have an ancient stone. Although I faked my death to escape for the past 2,000 years, he still thinks that I'm still alive. If he finds out about this ancient stone, he will definitely find you. Li Chunfeng looked into Ling Xiao's eyes with a burning gaze. Do I have a choice? Ling Xiao smiled faintly and said, I don't want to be South Celestial Venerable's slave for 10 years. So what if it's South Celestial Venerable? Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with pride. Even if South Celestial Venerable was South Celestial Venerable, Ling Xiao was the #1 Celestial Venerable in his previous life. His title was Devourer of Heaven, and he dominated an era. What was South Celestial Venerable to him? Moreover, Ling Xiao believed that in this life, he would only go further and become stronger. Good, you have guts. However, you don't have to worry too much. As a Celestial Venerable, South Celestial Venerable might not be in this world right now. As long as he doesn't sense the ancient stone's aura, you won't be in danger. This ancient stone is yours. Li Chunfeng caressed the ancient stone. His eyes were filled with reluctance, but he still said firmly in the end, Thank you. Ling Xiao nodded solemnly. With a flash of light in his hand, he kept the ancient stone into his longevity ring. All right, let's go out. Li Chunfeng looked as though he had put down a burden on his mind, and a relaxed smile appeared on his face. Outside the mustard subdimensional space, the 8 or 9-year-old girl in a tattered dress had already placed the rice on the table with much effort. There were also a few stir-fried vegetables. Although it was bland, it looked exquisite. It gave off a refreshing fragrance that whetted one's appetite. "Grandpa, it's time to eat." When Luo Luo saw Li Chunfeng, a radiant smile appeared on her face. Her red dress was tattered, and there were a few holes in her shoes, revealing her jade-like toes. However, it couldn't hide her jade-like skin. There was a lot of dust on her face, but her big eyes were lively. If she were to dress up properly, she would definitely look like a porcelain doll. Her face was filled with a pure and happy smile. She looked at Ling Xiao curiously and sensibly added a set of chopsticks for Ling Xiao. "Big brother, are you Grandpa's friend? Come and try Luo Luo's cooking. Grandpa doesn't usually bring guests home." Luo Luo said with anticipation. Luo Luo is so obedient. Chapter 5:12. Don't think that I'm abusing Luo Luo. It's good for her. After all, her body is too special. Li Chunfeng said with a bitter smile when he saw Ling Xiao looking at him strangely. He immediately knew what Ling Xiao was thinking. "All right, let's eat." Ling Xiao smiled and didn't ask any more questions. He picked up his bowl and chopsticks and started eating. The rice was green spirit rice, and the vegetables were all kinds of precious spiritual herbs. They tasted soft, sweet, and delicious, as if there were guests in the house. This made Luo Luo very happy, and she kept asking Li Chunfeng to eat more. Li Chunfeng was so angry that he was fuming with jealousy. Although the meal was simple, it was very heartwarming, especially when he saw Lolua's clear eyes, which were innocent and bright. Her pure heart made Ling Xiao feel a sense of peace that he hadn't felt in a long time. "Come and find me after the Heavenly God Conference." After the meal, Li Chunfeng looked at Ling Xiao and said with a smile. Although he believed in his own judgment, he was relieved when he saw Ling Xiao's attitude toward Luo Luo. Ling Xiao naturally knew what Li Chunfeng meant. Li Chunfeng wanted Ling Xiao to take Luo Luo away and teach him the Dragon Quake scripture and the 2 secret skills. "All right." Ling Xiao nodded and said. Luo Luo looked at Ling Xiao reluctantly, but she still said sensibly, "Big brother, are you leaving so soon? Remember to come and play with Luo Luo next time." Ling Xiao looked at Luo Luo and had an indescribable feeling in his heart. He felt unnaturally close to her. "All right, Luo will be good. This is for you. I'll come and see you in a few days." Ling Xiao sighed in his heart and smiled. A light flashed in his hand and a puppet appeared. It was holding the sky-devouring sword. It had black hair and a black robe. Its face was beautiful and it had a peerless aura. This puppet was none other than Ling Xiao himself. However, there was a mysterious fluctuation in the puppet. It had been refined into a secret treasure by Ling Xiao and contained Ling Xiao's divine power. If there was any danger, the puppet could activate a defensive barrier. It could even block the attack of an imperial expert for 15 minutes. Moreover, the puppet was connected to Ling Xiao's mind. If anything happened, Ling Xiao would know immediately. Luo Luo didn't accept it immediately. Instead, she looked at Li Chunfeng. "Since it's a gift from Big Brother, you should accept it." Li Chunfeng sighed softly. He could tell that the puppet was extraordinary, and he was gratified. Even if he went, with Ling Xiao taking care of Luo Luo, he should be able to relax. "Thank you, Big Brother. Luo Luo loves it." Luo Luo received it happily. Her eyelashes fluttered and her big, sparkling eyes were filled with happiness. Ling Xiao left the courtyard house. Outside the courtyard house, the old goat and Taoist Wu Yang were getting impatient from waiting. They almost broke the barrier and rushed in. Their eyes lit up when they saw Ling Xiao. "I've already gotten an ancient stone from that old man. We're definitely going to win this time." Looking at everyone's expectant gazes, Ling Xiao smiled. "Ha, that's good. That bullshit celestial venerable Nan. This emperor has long been annoyed by him. Let's see if he still dares to be so arrogant tomorrow." The old goat laughed loudly. "What ancient stone is it? Can you show it to us?" Taoist Wu Yang asked expectantly. "That ancient stone is very important, so I can't show it to you for now. You'll naturally see it during the stone gambling tomorrow." Ling Xiao smiled. That ancient stone's aura was too strong. If he took it out now, it wouldn't affect celestial venerable Nan. However, if celestial venerable Nan sensed it, it would be very troublesome. Alright, let's go back first. The moon deity smiled faintly. She had a cold personality, so she was slightly relieved when she saw that Ling Xiao had found the ancient stone. Not only did the precious treasure pavilion sell rare treasures, but it was also the best place to stay in Heavenly God City. With the ancient stone as its companion and rare flowers as its neighbor, the environment was very peaceful. Under the instructions of the Precious Treasure Pavilion's great elder, the Precious Treasure Pavilion had already prepared an exquisite courtyard for Ling Xiao, the old goat, and Taoist Wuliang. The courtyard was close to the heaven-grade stone garden. It was shrouded in a faint auspicious aura and intertwined Tao rhymes. It was very peaceful. A night's stay in this courtyard would cost a whopping 10,000 pure yang pills. Even those young geniuses couldn't afford it. The Moon Palace had its own palace in Heavenly God City. The Moon Deity and Granny Gui returned to the palace and agreed to help Ling Xiao the next day. Once Ling Xiao, the old goat, and Taoist Wuliang returned to the courtyard, Taoist Wuliang waved the horsetail whisk in his hand. Instantly, a transparent barrier covered the entire courtyard. Taoist Wuliang's eyes were filled with excitement. He looked at Ling Xiao and asked, "Who exactly are you?" He had been holding back this question for almost a day. However, too many things had happened today, so he didn't have the time to ask. When he was at the Supreme Tower, he confirmed the old goat's identity and vaguely guessed Ling Xiao's identity. However, he didn't dare to believe it and had many doubts in his heart. "I'm Ling Xiao. Ox-nosed old Taoist, how have you been?" Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Taoist Wuliang's body shook. His eyes were filled with excitement and disbelief. For a moment, he was speechless. There was only one person in the world who called him ox-nosed old Taoist and spoke to him in such a tone. The most powerful person in the world, the sky-devouring Supreme. "It's really you. It's really you." It's true that good people don't live long, but scourges live on for 10,000 years. "I knew you wouldn't die so easily," Taoist Wuliang scolded jokingly. His eyes were filled with laughter. Ling Xiao rolled his eyes and said, "Good people don't live long, but scourges live on for 10,000 years. Shouldn't I be talking about the two of you?" In his previous life, the old goat and Taoist Wuliang were notorious. They were hated by countless people in the sacred grounds. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao suppressing them, those sacred grounds would have sent out Supremes to kill them. One dug up the graves of others, and the other messed with their saints. These two were the biggest weirdos from 10,000 years ago. "Quick, tell me, how did you not die? Didn't you say that you were killed by that bastard Jinlong's sneak attack 10,000 years ago? At that time, your life jade was shattered. How did you survive?" Taoist Wuliang couldn't wait to ask. Ling Xiao smiled and told Taoist Wuliang about how he was reborn. "I didn't expect reincarnation to really exist in this world." Taoist Wuliang sighed. Ling Xiao's experience was also an eye-opener for him. "What about you? Your true spirit didn't die, but your foundation changed. Could it be that you found the legendary Supreme Elixir and were reborn?" The old goat asked with his eyes wide open. At the thought of the Supreme Elixir, the old goat's eyes glowed. He was just short of drooling. "Supreme Elixir? It's not that easy." Taoist Wuliang smiled bitterly and said, "I also experienced the great calamity 10,000 years ago. At that time, the world was turned upside down. The entire war god continent was plunged into misery and suffering. The various sacred grounds of the martial Tao also suffered great losses." Chapter 5:13. Youth Rejuvenation Water? Where is it? Do you still have it? Hurry up and give me some. The old goat's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. His hooves almost rode on Taoist Wuliang's body as he urged him. Youth Rejuvenation Water had always existed in legends. It was said to be a divine dew that fell from the god realm. It had the effect of rejuvenating one's youth and rebuilding one's foundation. It was comparable to a divine medicine. It could be considered as a rebirth. However, unlike divine medicine, youth rejuvenation water could return one to the state of an infant. Whether one could cultivate to the peak would depend on one's luck. It was not like a divine medicine. Even a supreme being expert could regain 10,000 years of lifespan and live a new life. Furthermore, they could maintain their peak cultivation. It was used up long ago. Taoist Wu Liang slapped the old goat's hoof away and said helplessly, "Then do you know where Jinsei is?" Ling Xiao looked at Taoist Wu Liang with a hint of anticipation in his eyes. "I only know that during the calamity of the Eight Desolates region 10,000 years ago, the longevity sect suffered heavy losses and Jinsei was also severely injured. After that, I heard that she went to the Gemini Mountain. I think she must have gone there to wait for you. After that, I used youth rejuvenation water to freeze myself. Therefore, I am not very clear about Jinsei's whereabouts." Taoist Wu Yang said slowly. He knew the relationship between Ling Xiao and Jinsei. He also knew how sad Jinsei was when the news of Ling Xiao's death spread out 10,000 years ago. If it wasn't for that catastrophe, Jinsei would have killed the supreme true dragon to avenge Ling Xiao even if she had to travel to the myriad heavens. The Gemini Mountain was where Ling Xiao and Jinsei met. 10,000 years ago, Devouring Sky Supreme and Longevity Supreme were the envy of everyone. However, 10,000 years had passed. No matter how beautiful Jinsei was, if she did not find a divine medicine to extend her life, she would have turned into a skeleton. If Jinsei was still alive, her name would have spread across the entire War God continent. However, Taoist Wu Liang had never heard of Jinsei since his rebirth. "Don't worry, Jinsei will be fine." The old goat looked at Ling Xiao and said seriously, "Don't worry. I also believe that Jinsei will be fine. When the matters in Heavenly God City are settled, we will go to the Gemini Mountain." Ling Xiao smiled, looking very calm. Although Ling Xiao had thought of countless possibilities, and although the possibility of Jinsei still being alive was very slim, Ling Xiao was still unwilling to give up until he went to Gemini Mountain. The old goat and Taoist Wu Yang were silent for a while. After comforting him, they returned to their rooms to rest. They knew that Ling Xiao needed some peace and quiet at this moment. Ling Xiao took a deep breath, suppressed his thoughts, and walked into the room. He did not choose to rest. Instead, he prepared to cultivate. This time, he had obtained more than 10 million pure yang pills, which was enough for Ling Xiao to break through from the first level of the noble plane to the 9th level. Moreover, under Ling Xiao's continuous cultivation and comprehension, the celestial god's eye was gradually showing signs of reaching perfection. Ling Xiao set up an isolation array in the room and took out 100,000 pure yang pills. Rumble! 100,000 pure yang pills was like a vast ocean, instantly drowning Ling Xiao. Multicolored light and auspicious qi filled the air. Pure yang qi flowed like a river. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged in the middle of the array. All the pores on his body opened up. The acupoints on his body were like stars in the sky, flickering with bright light. The majestic pure yang qi rushed toward Ling Xiao wildly. It was refined by the sky-devouring secret skill and quickly turned into a part of Ling Xiao's cultivation. There were 9 levels in the noble plane, and each level had a superpower. With 9 superpowers, one could break through to the emperor plane. However, the noble plane condensed the martial way primordial spirit. It was also a realm where one could explore the laws of heaven and earth and see the roots of martial arts. In this realm, the more martial way superpowers one comprehended and the more laws one understood, the stronger one's martial arts foundation would be. Therefore, many exceptional geniuses would polish their cultivation in this realm. They would use their superpowers and supreme superpowers to condense the strongest superpower Dharma Laksana. Ling Xiao now had 9 supreme superpowers at the complete realm. Together with the celestial god Eye, he had 10 supreme superpowers. He could choose to break through to the 9th level of the noble plane in one go. The pure yang pills contained innate pure yang spiritual qi. Its quality was thousands of times higher than ordinary spiritual qi. 100,000 pure yang pills were enough for an ordinary person to cultivate from the channel opening realm to the noble plane. However, Ling Xiao had used up all 100,000 pure yang pills and he had only broken through to the 2nd level of the noble realm. The main ingredient was Ling Xiao's accumulation. In addition, the wordless heavenly book took away most of the energy. Therefore, although 100,000 pure yang pills was terrifying, it was only a drop in the bucket for Ling Xiao. 2 million pure yang pills. Come out. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Instantly, a river of pure yang pills flew out from the longevity ring. Like a white dragon, it instantly enveloped Ling Xiao. Violent energy exploded and Ling Xiao's cultivation began to increase at a speed visible to the naked eye. Ordinary people wouldn't dare to cultivate like this. They would probably explode in an instant. However, with the heaven-devouring secret technique and the wordless heavenly book, even though 2 million pure yang pills was a terrifying amount, it was still quickly absorbed by Ling Xiao. Buzz. The sky-devouring golden lotus was dazzling. It floated in the mist and was surrounded by a golden vortex. Ling Xiao's aura began to grow stronger. News of the stone gambling battle between Ling Xiao and South Celestial Venerable spread throughout Heavenly God City almost instantly. Countless young talents, old monsters, and peerless geniuses of the martial arts' sacred grounds were filled with anticipation for this battle. This was because this battle would determine the ownership of the most mysterious goddess stone in the Heavenly King Palace. Many old monsters were looking forward to the goddess stone. They wondered if a goddess could be cut out from it. On the other hand, South Celestial Venerable's purple chi spiritual technique was famous. She had already broken through to the sovereign plane and formed a celestial venerable dharma. She was one of the top peerless geniuses of the war god continent. Compared to her, Ling Xiao was much weaker. Many people didn't know Ling Xiao's name. Although he had made a name for himself in the Precious Treasure Pavilion and South Sky Temple, he was still far from South Celestial Venerable. Almost everyone believed that South Celestial Venerable would win this battle. When there was still an hour before the agreed time, many people had already appeared in the Precious Treasure Pavilion's Heavenly Stone Garden. Among them, the Star Child of the Greedy Wolf, the Second Prince, South Sky Sword, and the others stood beside South Celestial Venerable. Their eyes were filled with confidence. South Celestial Venerable's eyes were slightly closed. He wore a purple robe and had a slender figure. Purple chi surrounded him, making him look indescribably noble. He was very handsome and his body glowed. There was a strange aura around him. He stood there like a dazzling sun. Chapter 5:14. The Jiang family's divine body is here. Someone exclaimed. They saw a young man with a majestic aura. He was shrouded in a dazzling divine light as he strolled over. His gait was majestic, and his body exuded a vast and unparalleled power. There was also a group of young talents beside him. They strolled over slowly as if the heavenly emperor was patrolling. Beside him, there was a young girl in a purple dress. She looked bright and beautiful, pure and cute. Her big eyes were very lively, looking around as if she was curious about everything. The 10th saint of the Sun Palace? I heard that he was taken in as the last disciple of the Sun Palace Master. Not only did he directly break through to the noble realm, but he also inherited dozens of Sun Palace's divine powers. He's terrifying. Someone's gaze shifted as he saw a young man in a golden robe walking over. He was followed by a group of young disciples in Sun Palace robes. There seemed to be a huge sun behind his head. The young man in the golden robe looked very handsome and had an extraordinary aura. However, his expression was very interesting and his eyes were filled with an extremely strange expression. Second uncle, I only went into seclusion. That bastard Ling Xiao actually came to the war god continent and caused such a huge commotion? The young man in the golden robe mumbled in a barely audible voice. His eyes were filled with disbelief. This young man was Zhao Ritian. Under the guidance of the second uncle, he came from the 8 Desolates region to the war god continent. He was discovered by the Sun Palace Master. Zhao Ritian's divine body of the sun was immediately treated as a treasure by the Sun Palace Master. He was taken in as his last disciple and was directly named the 10th saint. Zhao Ritian could be said to have reached the heavens in a single bound. Not only did his cultivation break through to the noble realm, but he also inherited dozens of powerful divine powers in the Sun Palace's sacred land of inheritance. This time, he came to Heavenly God City and went into seclusion for a day. In the end, he heard about Ling Xiao's matter. Zhao Ritian immediately felt like he had been fucked up. Why was that bastard Ling Xiao everywhere he went? Hee, you're now the Sun Palace's saint. How can Ling Xiao compare to you? When you see him this time, I'm afraid he'll be so scared that he'll kneel before you and beg for mercy. The second uncle chuckled. Zhao Ritian was taken aback. He then smiled proudly and said, "That's right. Compared to me, Ling Xiao is just trash. When I see him, I'm going to beat him up and take away all his treasures. I'm afraid I won't have the chance. This guy offended Celestial Venerable Nan, he's going to become her servant today." Every time he saw Ling Xiao, he would be robbed of his treasures. Zhao Ritian was already traumatized and resentful. He could not wait to grab Ling Xiao and beat him up. However, after thinking about it, he felt that it was a pity. Ling Xiao and South Celestial Venerable were bound to lose. Surrounded by the crowd, Zhao Ritian found a stone pavilion and sat down. His eyes were filled with anticipation as he waited for the stone gambling to begin. Not long after, the 9th princess, Yuan Wan, arrived with the Azure Dragon Guards. The great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion, Old Black Bear, Jian Bummy, and the other old monsters also came to support Ling Xiao. The moon goddess was shrouded in faint moonlight. Accompanied by Granny Gue and a group of women from the Moon Palace, she also arrived at the Heaven Stone Garden. The moon goddess's peerless appearance and cold temperament immediately attracted the attention of many genius disciples. Many young geniuses came to strike up a conversation with her, but the moon goddess only responded indifferently. These old monsters also brought the successor of the Sword God Pavilion. He was also a very powerful genius. He carried an ancient sword on his back and wore white clothes. He looked like a modest gentleman and was as gentle as jade. Beside the successor of the Sword God Pavilion stood a young girl. She wore a red dress and had a peerless appearance. Her body emitted a flame-like aura, and there was a vermilion bird mark between her eyebrows. She was the princess of the ancient kingdom of Vermilion Bird. The successor of the Sword God Pavilion and the princess of the Vermilion Bird stood together like a perfect couple. Many young geniuses were envious. However, they also knew that the successor of the Sword God Pavilion and the princess of the Vermilion Bird were not only in love, but they were also engaged since they were young. It was said that the wedding would be held soon. More and more geniuses gathered. Almost all of the geniuses who came to participate in the Heavenly God Convention were attracted by this exceptional stone gambling battle. The time was getting closer and closer, but Ling Xiao still did not appear. Could it be that Ling Xiao is afraid and doesn't dare to show up? Chen Yang sneered and said slowly, "Senior Chen is right. I think Ling Xiao knows that he can't beat Brother Nantian, so he ran away without a fight." The second prince said with a faint smile, "In that case, there is no need to compete. Just announce that Ling Xiao has lost. From now on, he is Brother Nanshan's servant." The greedy wolf Star Child said coldly, "Hee, you little guys don't talk nonsense. Ling Xiao will definitely come. Don't talk big. When the time comes, the wind will bite your tongue and it won't look good." Xiong Laohei's temper was the most fiery. Although he was an old monster, he was the first to jump out to support Ling Xiao. "Xiong Laohei, Ling Xiao will definitely lose today. I advise you not to get involved in this muddy water." Nan Tianqi, the old man with white hair and beard from the Heavenly King Palace, also came. He emitted a powerful and obscure aura. He seemed to be the strongest among the crowd. At this moment, his eyes opened and closed, and a cold light flashed past. Everyone was talking about it, and their eyes were full of suspicion. The time was almost up, but Ling Xiao had not appeared. Everyone naturally thought that Ling Xiao was afraid. In the eyes of everyone, there was no suspense at all in this stone gambling game. Ling Xiao would definitely lose. Everyone participated in the stone gambling game mainly because they wanted to see what kind of treasures would be obtained in this peerless stone gambling game. In particular, it was rumored that the Nantian family's purple chi psychic skill was unparalleled in the world. It could see through the mysteries of heaven. Everyone also wanted to see the power of the purple chi psychic skill. The time is up, but Ling Xiao has not arrived. Brother Chen, can you announce the result? Ling Xiao has already lost. Nan Tianqi looked at the time and sneered. The great elder of the treasure pavilion was called Qin Tong. He was usually a good person and was highly respected. This time, he was the judge of the stone gambling game. Ling Xiao and the Nantian family had no objection to him being the judge of the stone gambling game. Chen Tong was also slightly worried. He did not know why Ling Xiao had not arrived yet. However, the appointed time was indeed up. Just as Chen Tong was in a difficult position, a lazy voice was heard. Old man, who said that Ling Xiao has lost. Could it be that all of you are blind? I'm here to tell you that Ling Xiao will definitely win. Old man, and that purple-eyed brat, prepare the goddess stone and the purple chi psychic skill. The old goat and Taoist Wu Yang slowly walked over with Ling Xiao. The old goat's face was full of arrogance. He looked at Nan Tianqi and celestial venerable Nan in the distance with a cold smile. Ling Xiao's footsteps were very steady. Accompanied by the bright sunlight, his white robe was whiter than snow, and there was a faint smile on his face. He had an unruly temperament. Ling Xiao had arrived. Chapter 5:15. You're only here now. Do you think stalling for time will work? You're going to lose today. South Sky Sword glared at Ling Xiao coldly. Which family's dog didn't tie up properly and came out to bite people? The stone gambling hasn't even started yet and you already know the result. Why are you so arrogant? The old goat sneered. His words immediately made Southern Sky Sword's face turn red. His eyes were filled with extreme anger. Don't try to win a battle of words. Since you're so reckless, let's start the stone gambling. Chen Yang's eyes were cold. Ling Xiao didn't look at anyone else. His gaze landed on South Sky Venerable. Ling Xiao was late because he had wasted some time in breaking through. After spending 2 million pure yang pills, Ling Xiao's cultivation had only reached the 6th level of the noble realm. The increase in cultivation in the noble realm was related to the comprehension of superpowers. Breaking through was a natural thing. However, Ling Xiao still wanted to stabilize his cultivation before continuing. South Celestial Venerable was also looking at Ling Xiao. Their gazes clashed in the void and sparks were faintly seen. The atmosphere instantly froze. Are you ready? Let's begin. South Sky Venerable said calmly. His expression was cold and confident. A light flashed in his hand and a mysterious ancient stone appeared in front of everyone. Boom! It was as if a bolt of lightning had exploded out of nowhere. It was an ancient stone shining with golden light. It looked perfectly round and simple, like a star. It was only the size of a human head, but the surface of the stone was sparkling and translucent like jade. Golden multicolored light burst forth, and countless mysterious symbols appeared around it. Tao intent intertwined and the runes spread. The entire ancient stone looked extremely mysterious. The surrounding void started to buzz and tremble. What a powerful ancient stone. It messed up the laws of the void. This ancient stone is definitely not ordinary. One of the old monsters exclaimed with a serious look in his eyes. Just the Tao intent that was released was enough to cause ripples in the void. The ancient stone's aura was too strong. One could imagine that there was an earth-shattering supreme treasure inside. Where's your ancient stone? South Celestial Venerable glanced at Ling Xiao with a hint of passion in his eyes. He was extremely excited when he thought of the item that might appear on Ling Xiao. Cut the stone first. When you're done, I'll take out my ancient stone. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Ling Xiao, I think you don't have any ancient stones, right? Could it be that he knows that the ancient stone is not as good as Brother Nanshan's, so he doesn't dare to take it out? The second prince would not let go of any opportunity to attack Ling Xiao. That's right, that must be it. But he's really calm. I want to see if he'll still be so calm after he loses. Southern Sky Sword sneered. Many young geniuses, as well as those old monsters, revealed doubtful expressions. They could not understand why Ling Xiao did not take out the ancient stone if he had found it. Could it be that what the second prince and the Southern Sky Sword said was true, that Ling Xiao did not dare to take it out? Ling Xiao's expression was indifferent and calm. He did not pay attention to everyone's expressions. The reason why he wasn't willing to take it out was because that ancient stone was of great importance, and the aura from South Celestial Venerable's ancient stone was extremely similar to that ancient stone. Li Chunfeng had already said that the Nantian family had an ancient stone. It should be the one that South Celestial Venerable had taken out. In order to prevent the aura of the ancient stone from leaking out, Ling Xiao wanted South Celestial Venerable to cut the stone first. Alright, since you're unwilling to give up, then take a look at my ancient stone. South Celestial Venerable smiled faintly as a glimmer of radiance appeared in his eyes. The ancient stone in front of him was the most precious ancient stone that the Nantian family had obtained. However, no one could see what was inside the ancient stone. It was only until South Celestial Venerable cultivated the purple chi spiritual technique to perfection that he could vaguely sense that there was an earth-shattering supreme treasure inside the ancient stone. South Celestial Venerable was originally hesitating whether to cut the ancient stone. Coincidentally, Ling Xiao appeared at this time. Furthermore, South Celestial Venerable felt the aura of that item from Ling Xiao's body. Therefore, he did not hesitate to make a huge bet with Ling Xiao. South Celestial Venerable was confident that his ancient stone was the most precious in the entire Heavenly God City, other than the Heavenly God Stone and the Goddess Stone in the Heavenly King Palace. Therefore, regardless of whether Ling Xiao had the stone gambling technique or not, he was bound to lose. Buzz. The golden ancient stone emitted a resplendent glow as Tao rhymes filled the air. Mysterious runes intertwined like divine chains of order traversed the void. South Celestial Venerable chose to cut the ancient stone himself. A transparent blade of light appeared in his hand. It was extremely sharp. As the blade of light fell, the surface of the stone flew up and the ancient stone began to emit a resplendent golden light. Rays of divine light flew up as mysterious runes flowed. A mysterious figure seemed to appear from the ancient stone. It was as if it was about to break through the void and ascend to the God realm. It was mysterious and unfathomable. Could there be a God spirit hidden in this ancient stone? Someone exclaimed with disbelief in his eyes. Such a terrifying phenomenon occurred even before the ancient stone was cut open. Everyone was looking forward to the treasure inside the ancient stone. Crack! As the ancient stone was cut open by South Celestial Venerable, a resplendent divine light instantly shot into the sky. The world was covered in white and nothing could be seen clearly. What is that? Someone exclaimed. His eyes were filled with shock. The ancient stone was filled with resplendent divine light and dense auspicious air. Countless runes of the great Tao intertwined. A mysterious figure was sitting cross-legged in the stone. Its aura was mysterious and terrifying like a god spirit. Could it be that a god was really cut out? Everyone's voice was trembling as they stared intently at the treasure within the divine light. It's not a god spirit. It's a herb. The first elder of the precious treasure pavilion said slowly with a glint in his eyes. The urging divine light slowly dissipated. Only then did everyone realize that the mysterious figure was actually just an illusory shadow. It instantly turned into a beam of light and entered a mysterious ginseng. The ginseng was dazzling with golden light. It had 9 ginseng roots and a clear face. It looked like a benevolent elder. A mysterious fragrance permeated the air and made people feel energized. A golden ginseng with 9 ginseng roots. Could it be? Nantianqi's eyes were filled with excitement as if he had thought of something. 9 reincarnation golden ginseng. The first elder of the precious treasure pavilion slowly uttered these words. His eyes were filled with shock as his body trembled. The young prodigies were still confused, but the old monsters around them began to boil. What? The legendary supreme divine herb, 9 reincarnation golden ginseng? The old monsters were stunned as if they were struck by lightning. Then, their bodies quivered as they excitedly surrounded the golden ginseng, wanting to see it clearly. The supreme divine herb was said to be an item from the God world. It was extremely precious and contained the substance of immortality. That was why it could extend the lifespan of supreme experts by 10,000 years. However, In the history of the war god continent, the number of divine herbs that appeared could be counted with one's fingers. The 9 reincarnation golden ginseng was one of them. More than 200,000 years ago, the invincible old man Guan Tian used the 9 reincarnation golden ginseng to extend his lifespan by 10,000 years. In the end, he ascended to the god world and became famous throughout the ages. No one expected to see a supreme divine herb in the legends. Chapter 5:16. Old Man Guan Tian's 9-spirited golden ginseng? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed, and a strange smile appeared on his face. He suddenly thought of his ancient stone. He suddenly realized that even though he didn't cut open the ancient stone, he already knew what was inside it. A supreme divine medicine that can extend the lifespan of a supreme being expert by 10,000 years. The Nantian family actually has such a terrifying ancient stone. Everyone was shocked, and their eyes were filled with excitement. Especially those old monsters who were nearing the end of their lifespans. Their eyes were burning with passion, and they couldn't wait to snatch it. The 9-spirited golden ginseng, the legendary supreme divine medicine, was born. No, it's not a true supreme divine medicine. Look, the 9th ginseng root isn't fully grown. It's only half grown. The laws aren't complete, and the longevity substance isn't dense enough. It's only a quasi-divine medicine. Chen Tong, the great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion, said slowly with a glint in his eyes. What? Everyone was stunned. However, when they took a closer look, they realized that it was just as Chen Tong said. The 9-spirited golden ginseng's 9th ginseng root was only half grown. The 9-spirited golden ginseng, which had a rich medicinal fragrance, gradually calmed down, and its medicinal fragrance dimmed a lot. It's a pity that it's only a quasi-divine medicine. If it was a supreme divine medicine, it would be priceless. I'm afraid that even supreme being experts would be shocked and fight for it. Someone said regretfully. However, even if it's a quasi-divine medicine, it can extend a supreme being expert's lifespan by at least 1,000 years. I'm afraid that some supreme beings would be tempted. Moreover, a half-step supreme being could extend their lifespan by 3,000 years. Young Master Nanshan's 9-spirited golden ginseng is a priceless treasure. Young Master Nantan, if you're willing to sell it, I'm willing to pay 10 million pure yang pills. Many old monsters discussed animatedly. An elder of the Mystic Heaven sect even began to bid directly. His eyes were filled with incomparable fervor. Everyone, let's put aside the bidding for now. The stone gambling isn't over yet. I'd like to see what kind of treasure Ling Zhao's ancient stone can find. South Celestial Venerable glanced at the 9-turn golden ginseng in his hand and narrowed his eyes. However, he quickly regained his composure and took out a precious jade box to put the ginseng inside. His gaze landed on Ling Zhao. Ling Zhao, you have nothing to say now, right? My elder brother has already cut out the 9-turn golden spirit ginseng. If you have the ability, why don't you cut out one for me to see? Southern Sky Sword said arrogantly as he looked at Ling Zhao. A quasi-divine medicine could be said to be the most precious treasure ever cut out of an ancient stone in the history of Heavenly God City. He didn't believe that Ling Zhao could cut out a treasure more precious than the 9-revolution golden spirit ginseng. Everyone's gaze landed on Ling Zhao, but they all revealed looks of disbelief. Alright, since you want to see it, I'll show it to you. Ling Zhao's eyes lit up. With a flash of light in his hand, the mysterious ancient stone appeared before everyone's eyes. The silver light was dazzling as bolts of lightning pierced through the void. The silver ancient stone seemed to be more than 10 times the size of South Celestial Venerable's ancient stone. It was like a silver star floating in the void. The surface of the stone was mottled and filled with Tao rhymes. Mysterious runes flickered as a mysterious, ancient, and vast chaotic aura spread out, causing everyone's heart to tremble. However, in terms of aura, the ancient stone's aura was even stronger than South Celestial Venerable's ancient stone. How is this possible? Southern Sky Sword widened his eyes in disbelief. He simply did not dare to believe that Ling Zhao was actually able to find such a precious ancient stone. It's just a shocking phenomenon. Many ancient stones with shocking phenomena don't yield anything in the end. They're just Tao marks left behind from ancient times. The second prince's face was filled with displeasure as he said coldly, "That's right. No treasure can be cut out from this ancient stone. The 9-turn golden spirit ginseng is the most precious." Among the young talents, the die-hard fans of the Nantian family began to speak. On the other hand, South Celestial Venerable's eyes suddenly trembled and revealed a sharp glint. He actually sensed the exact same aura as his own ancient stone from Ling Zhao's ancient stone. The successor of the Li family has finally appeared. South Celestial Venerable's eyes revealed a cold glint as he stared at Ling Xiao. Buzz. Ling Zhao's expression didn't change. He looked very calm. The moment the ancient stone appeared, he began to cut it. The surface of the stone fluttered in the air as the light was dazzling. Ling Zhao's speed was very fast. Soon, a large piece of the ancient stone was cut open, revealing the scene inside. Rumble! Terrifying silver divine light burst out like a sea of lightning descending from the sky. The surrounding void trembled and emitted a terrifying and mysterious aura. In the end, the ancient stone directly exploded. Everyone shuddered as they hurriedly looked over. They felt that there should be some kind of earth-shattering treasure within the ancient stone. However, what happened next left everyone dumbfounded. This was because from the center of the ancient stone, a stone-sized flower appeared. It was pitch black and looked very ordinary. It didn't have any spirituality as it fell to the ground just like that. This is a stone flower? Everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. After all, the ancient stone that Ling Xiao obtained had a shocking aura and powerful Tao rhyme. It was even stronger than the one that South Celestial Venerable obtained. Who would have thought that a black stone flower would appear in the ancient stone? The black stone flower looked very crude. It didn't have any Tao marks or spirituality. It looked like some kind of prank, which disappointed everyone. Ha! This is a stone flower? Am I seeing things? I thought you could really cut out a supreme treasure. Ling Xiao, you're really playing tricks. South Celestial Sword was startled. Then, he laughed loudly and his eyes were filled with mockery. A stone flower? Hee, I think it must be a prank from someone in the ancient era. I don't know where Ling Xiao got this ancient stone. It looks pretty good. I didn't expect him to cut out such a plaything. There's no need to compete. Ling Xiao will lose for sure. Hee, I'm looking forward to seeing Ling Xiao become young Master Nanshan's servant. Let's see if he still dares to be arrogant. Everyone mocked and ridiculed, especially those young talents who were originally on the Nantian family's side. They added insult to injury and laughed loudly. Chapter 517. Ling Xiao, you've lost. According to the bet, you're my brother's servant from now on, which means you're my Southern Sky Sword servant. Kneel down and counter to me 100 times before we talk. Southern Sky Sword pointed at Ling Xiao and yelled, "Ignorant! Who told you that this is just an ordinary stone flower?" Ling Xiao looked at Southern Sky Sword as if he was looking at an idiot. Ling Xiao, no matter what you say, it's just a stone flower. It doesn't have any spirituality, principle, or fluctuation of principle. It's just a piece of trash. It's worse than trash. You're about to die, and you still dare to act shamelessly? Southern Sky Sword sneered and said, "This is not an ordinary stone flower. This stone flower will explode." Ling Xiao looked at Southern Sky Sword strangely and said with a smile, "Explode." Everyone was stunned. Then, they looked at the stone flower in Ling Xiao's hand and felt that they couldn't wrap their heads around it. It was just an ordinary stone flower and looked very rough. How could Ling Xiao say that it would explode? Was Ling Xiao scared out of his wits after knowing that he had lost? That must be it. What a shitty stone flower. I'd like to see how it's going to explode. Southern Sky Sword sneered and immediately wanted to expose Ling Xiao's lie. He stretched out his hand to grab the stone flower. Ling Xiao didn't stop him at all. Instead, a faint mocking smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Oh no, Jin, put it down." Nan Tianqi's eyes flashed with a sharp light. He suddenly shouted, However, it was too late. Boom! With a terrifying loud sound, the stone flower in Southern Sky Sword's hand exploded. A black mushroom cloud rose into the sky and shrouded Southern Sky Sword. The blazing black lightning was dazzling, as if it was going to turn people into dust. It contained the power to destroy everything. Cracking sounds could be heard coming from the Southern Sky Sword as countless runes exploded. Vaguely, there seemed to be an indomitable and terrifying figure that turned into an incomparably powerful defensive barrier, blocking the power of the explosion. However, the power of the explosion was too strong. Even that terrifying figure exploded with a loud bang in the end. South Sky Sword howled miserably as countless black lights exploded. South Sky Sword's clothes were torn apart and all of his defensive treasures exploded. Although they had blocked 99% of the power, his face still swelled up like a pig's head. He coughed up large mouthfuls of blood and his hair turned black. Nan Tianqi's eyes were filled with worry, but the terrifying explosive power made him tremble with fear. He did not expect that even the defensive power left by the Nantian family's patriarch, Nantian Ju, on the Nantian sword would be broken. That was the power of a supreme being expert, and it was blown away by a terrifying rock just like that. 1. What happened next shocked everyone even more. After the explosion ended, a black light filled the void. In the end, it formed a black stone flower, which was exactly the same as the one that had exploded. Ghost! South Sky Sword was so scared that he jumped up. His face turned pale and his body trembled as he ran out. When he saw the black stone flower, it was as if he had seen a ghost. Everyone was dumbfounded. How could an ordinary-looking stone flower explode with such terrifying power? The most important thing was, if you exploded, then so be it. Why did you recover in the end? Everyone could not figure it out. They were petrified as they stared at the stone flower. Could this be the legendary explosive dendrobium? The Sword God Pavilion's elder, Jian Bummy, suddenly thought of something. His eyes were filled with shock as he exclaimed, "Explosive dendrobium? What's that?" Everyone was stunned. They felt that the name was too strange. They had never heard of it before. When those old monsters heard the name, they were instantly stunned. Their mouths were wide open and they were filled with disbelief. "Martial uncle, what's the explosive dendrobium?" The Sword God Pavilion's successor, the gentle young man, asked curiously. "The explosive dendrobium is the legendary supreme divine medicine," Jian Bummy said slowly. The shock in his eyes did not fade for a long time. Supreme divine medicine? Everyone was stunned. Celestial Venerable Nan had just cut out the 9-turn golden ginseng, and Ling Xiao had also cut out some supreme divine medicine. Moreover, it was the explosive dendrobium that they had never heard of before. The explosive dendrobium is said to be born from nature. It gathers the 4 symbols' divine powers and messes up the power of heaven and earth. However, this supreme divine medicine is also called a supreme useless medicine. Although the explosive dendrobium is a divine medicine, it can't extend the lifespan of a prime expert. Jian Bummy seemed to have thought of something. He sighed softly and said slowly, "The only use of the explosive dendrobium is that it can explode. It will explode when it meets water, fire, and everything else. Legend has it that the explosive dendrobium contains the chaotic 4 symbols' divine powers. Any kind of energy will cause the 4 symbols' divine powers to become unstable and cause the explosive dendrobium to explode. When Nantian's sword touched the explosive dendrobium, the energy in his body caused the explosive dendrobium's energy to become unstable. Moreover, the explosive energy of the explosive dendrobium is extremely difficult to control. A small-scale explosion might not even kill a meridian-opening realm martial artist. If it's a large-scale explosion, it can even kill a prime. Even a prime can be killed by an explosion? Everyone trembled and involuntarily took a few steps back to distance themselves from the explosive dendrobium. "Martial uncle, the explosive dendrobium is so terrifying. If we can control it, wouldn't it be a powerful weapon?" The Sword God's Pavilion's successor's eyes lit up as he spoke slowly. "You're right. However, as long as a martial artist cultivates the martial way, as long as there is true qi in their body, they can cause the explosive dendrobium to explode. Legend has it that only a mortal who holds the explosive dendrobium will not cause it to explode. However, how much power can a mortal release with the explosive dendrobium? It's more likely that it will become an unstable factor. Who knows, he might even be killed by the explosion. Jian Bumi laughed bitterly. The exploding dendrobium was simply a paradox. Martial artists were unable to touch the exploding dendrobium or even approach it. Mortals could touch the exploding dendrobium, but mortals had no way of controlling this killing weapon. Therefore, although the explosive dendrobium is a legendary divine medicine, it's useless. With such terrifying power, even a prime can't do anything about it. Legend has it that in ancient times, a prime obtained the explosive dendrobium. He wanted to control the explosive dendrobium's power, but in the end, he was killed by the explosive dendrobium. Chapter 5:18. If that's the case, the exploding dendrobium should be a natural treasure. Why is it called a peerless divine medicine? Could it be that the exploding dendrobium can be consumed? Someone asked in disbelief. You're right. The exploding dendrobium can be consumed. Jian Bumi said with a wry smile. Legend has it that the exploding dendrobium is called a peerless divine medicine because when a sovereign realm expert consumes the exploding dendrobium, the exploding dendrobium's power can break through the void and find the existence of the realm of the gods to break through to the realm of the gods. When they heard Jian Bumi's words, everyone trembled in fear. Consuming the exploding dendrobium? That's courting death. Even a sovereign realm expert could be killed by the explosion. If a sovereign realm expert swallowed the exploding dendrobium, he would be killed before he could control the explosion. How could he find the existence of the realm of the gods and break through to the realm of the gods? That's a paradox. Therefore, although the exploding dendrobium is strange and precious, no one can control its power. That's because the heavenly way is incomplete and the human Tao is incomplete. The power in a martial arts expert's body cannot be balanced. Therefore, when one touches the exploding dendrobium, it will explode instantly. Legend had it that only those who had perfected their essence, energy, and spirit, starting from the meridian opening realm, would be able to control the explosive dendrobium after cultivating to the 10th level of perfection in every major realm and establishing a flawless Tao foundation. However, it's too difficult. Jian Bumi said slowly with a wry smile in his eyes. The great elder of the precious treasure pavilion, Nentianchi, and the other old monsters nodded in agreement. They had heard of the exploding dendrobium before. The exploding dendrobium was useless. It would harm others and oneself. It was worthless. The exploding dendrobium was also known as the most useless divine medicine. I thought it was a peerless divine medicine. It's just a useless piece of trash. How can a piece of trash compare to my elder brother's 9 transformation golden ginseng? Ling Xiao, you've lost. An ear-piercing voice rang out as South Sky's sword laughed out loud. His eyes were filled with pride. When Ling Xiao took out the exploding dendrobium, he was very nervous. He didn't expect Ling Xiao to cut it out. That's right. Although the exploding dendrobium is a supreme divine herb, it has no value at all. I believe that none of you are willing to buy it, right? Qin Yang sneered as he said, Fellow Taoist Qin, the result is out. Everyone knows who won and who lost. Announce the results. Nan Tianqi glanced at Qin Tong and said. The old goat couldn't hold it in any longer. He jumped up and sneered. The exploding dendrobium is a supreme divine herb while the 9 reincarnations golden ginseng is only a quasi-divine herb. Just because you can't use the explosive dendrobium, can you deny its value? This is a supreme treasure that can allow a supreme being expert to break through to the deity level. Taoist Wu Yang also said indifferently, what we said before was to bet on whose treasure is more precious and valuable. Everyone has seen the power of the explosive dendrobium just now. It's definitely better than the 9 transformations golden ginseng. What makes you think that Ling Xiao lost? Hee hee, A trashy exploding dendrobium dares to call itself a supreme treasure? A loss is a loss. Ling Xiao, are you trying to deny it? South Sky Sword had a pig head and hated Ling Xiao to the extreme. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao, he wouldn't have been blown up by the exploding dendrobium. South Sky Sword blamed everything on Ling Xiao. He couldn't wait to cut Ling Xiao into 8 pieces to vent his anger. The great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion, Qin Tong, and the other old monsters were also in a difficult position. Although a supreme divine herb was more valuable than a quasi-divine herb, the exploding dendrobium was too strange. They naturally thought that the exploding dendrobium was a piece of trash that was worthless. Ling Xiao, you know that you lost. South Celestial Venerable also glanced at Ling Xiao indifferently and said slowly. Ling Xiao's expression was very calm. He slowly smiled with a hint of mockery and said, South Celestial Venerable, are you really lying through your teeth? I don't know what you're talking about. South Celestial Venerable said indifferently. Hee, I don't believe that you don't know that the 9-turn golden ginseng in your hand is actually a worthless piece of trash with your purple aura spiritual technique. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, and a sharp glint appeared in his eyes. What? Everyone trembled. Ling Xiao actually said that the 9-turn golden ginseng in South Celestial Venerable's hand was a piece of trash? How was that possible? South Celestial Venerable's eyes revealed a hint of shock and gloominess. Then he said coldly, Ling Xiao, a loss is a loss. There's no use denying it. Everyone has seen the 9-turn golden ginseng just now. It's a quasi-divine herb without a doubt. Don't be so desperate. Ha! South Celestial Venerable, I didn't expect you to be so stubborn. Take out the 9-turn golden ginseng. It's indeed a quasi-divine herb, but its essence has been devoured. It's just an empty shell now. Are you in such a hurry to put it away because you're afraid that others will see through it? Ling Xiao sneered and said rudely. The essence of the 9-turn golden ginseng has been devoured and only an empty shell is left? Everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. Chapter 5:19. The essence within the 9 reincarnated golden ginseng had been hollowed out, leaving only a layer of shell. The originally rich aroma had become fainter and fainter. When the wind blew, the 9 reincarnated golden ginseng turned into a pile of ashes. Everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. There was actually such a dramatic change in the stone gambling duel this time. The result should be clear now, right? Celestial Venerable Nan, you've lost. The old goat looked at Celestial Venerable Nan and laughed proudly. Hurry up and hand over the goddess stone and the purple aura spiritual technique. Taoist Wu Yang also smiled. Oh my god, young friend Ling is so awesome. I really thought that it was the 9 reincarnated golden ginseng. I didn't expect him to see through its secret at first glance. Xiong Laohei's eyes widened as he exclaimed. The other old monsters also laughed bitterly, their eyes filled with pity. Second uncle, I knew that bastard Ling Xiao wouldn't lose. He's too cunning. Perhaps he's the one who tampered with the 9 reincarnated golden ginseng. Zhao Ritian's eyes widened as he spoke while gritting his teeth. You've really wronged him this time. He didn't tamper with the 9 reincarnated golden ginseng. However, there's something strange about the stone skin. Ritian, when no one is paying attention, take the stone skin back and let second uncle study it. The second uncle's voice was heard in Zhao Ritian's voice. The stone skin. Zhao Ritian was stunned. The stone skin peeled off by Celestial Venerable Nan looked very ordinary. There was nothing special about it. However, he still nodded his head out of trust for the second uncle. Zhao Ritian's eyes turned slightly as he slowly moved in the direction of the stone skin. The 9 reincarnated golden ginseng was a legendary quasi-divine medicine. They had already planned to fight to get the 9 reincarnated golden ginseng. However, they didn't expect the 9 reincarnated golden ginseng to be destroyed. Impossible! It's impossible! South Sky Sword and the rest were filled with disbelief as their faces turned ugly. They couldn't believe what was happening in front of them. The stone gambling duel this time was so dramatic that their hearts were about to explode. They thought that they were going to win, but in the end, They couldn't accept such an outcome. South Celestial Venerable's gaze was also very cold. There was a cold, killing intent in his eyes. This ancient stone was the defining treasure of the Nantian clan. Legend has it that it contained an incomparably precious treasure. Southern Celestial Venerable's purple chi spiritual technique also sensed a vast life force within it, but he didn't expect such an outcome. If he lost, it meant that South Celestial Venerable would lose the Goddess Stone and purple chi spiritual technique to Ling Xiao. The Goddess Stone and purple chi spiritual technique might be precious, but South Celestial Venerable didn't care about them. What he cared about the most was the treasure on Ling Xiao's body. Hand over the Goddess Stone and the purple chi psychic art. Ling Xiao glanced at South Heavenly Venerable and said slowly, "Good, very good." South Celestial Venerable's expression instantly returned to normal. He looked at Ling Xiao and said, "Ling Xiao, you win this round. The Goddess Stone and the Purple Cloud's psychic technique are both yours." A light flashed in South Celestial Venerable's hand, and a mysterious ancient stone flew out. It emitted a mysterious light, and Tao runes filled the air. It took the shape of a human, like a goddess of the 9 heavens, and was enveloped in 5-colored divine light. Every inch of the ancient stone was densely packed with runes. Once the Goddess Stone appeared, the ancient stones in the heaven-grade stone garden seemed to be startled. They began to buzz and tremble, emitting powerful Tao intent. This is the cultivation technique of the purple chi spiritual technique. An ancient purple jade book appeared in South Celestial Venerable's hand, and it also flew toward Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao received the ancient purple jade book and checked it carefully. He confirmed that it was the cultivation technique of the purple chi spiritual technique. It was extremely profound. The old goat and Taoist Wuliang were slightly stunned. They didn't expect South Celestial Venerable to hand over the Goddess Stone and purple chi spiritual technique so easily. One had to know that the Goddess Stone and purple chi spiritual technique were the defining treasures of the Nantian clan. The Nantian clan was incomparably domineering. Were they really willing to hand it over just like that? Ling Xiao, I've fulfilled the bet. Now, it's time to settle the matter of you stealing my Nantian clan's ancient stone. South Celestial Venerable's eyes flashed, and a chilling murderous intent burst out. Rumble. South Celestial Venerable exuded an extremely powerful aura. Purple mist filled the air around him. A terrifying figure seemed to appear behind him, making him look even more mysterious and unfathomable. Celestial Venerable Dharma Idol? Is South Celestial Venerable going back on his words and wants to kill Ling Xiao? Someone's eyes shook as he exclaimed. Ling Xiao stole the Nantian clan's ancient stone? When did this happen? An old monster sharply understood the meaning behind South Celestial Venerable's words and was slightly stunned. South Celestial Venerable, you're bullshitting. The old goat was startled, and then he sneered. He knew that the Nantian clan wouldn't hand over the Goddess Stone and purple chi spiritual techniques so obediently. South Celestial Venerable, I didn't expect you to be such a despicable and shameless person. On one hand, you pretended to fulfill the bet because you were afraid of being bound by the Heavenly Tao Oath, so you handed over the Goddess Stone and purple chi spiritual technique. On the other hand, you found an excuse to go back on your words. The Nantian clan is indeed the same. Taoist Wuliang sneered. South Celestial Venerable didn't even look at everyone's expression. His gaze was fixated on Ling Xiao, and he said, "This golden ancient stone is my Nantian clan's treasure, and everyone knows about it. However, what everyone doesn't know is that 2,000 years ago, my father obtained 2 ancient stones in the primitive ancient mine, 1 gold and 1 silver. However, the silver ancient stone was stolen by someone, and it's the one in Ling Xiao's hand. If you don't believe me, you can check it. The surface of the 2 ancient stones are stuck together, and the patterns are the same." South Celestial Venerable's voice was very indifferent, and many old monsters were slightly stunned. Someone picked up the silver and gold stone and observed it. They found that it was as South Celestial Venerable said, the patterns of the 2 ancient stones were the same. Could it be, this silver ancient stone really belongs to the Nantian clan? Someone was startled, and a trace of suspicion appeared in his eyes. After careful observation, everyone found that although the ancient stones were cut open, the auras emitted by the two ancient stones were very similar. It could be said that they came from the same source. Ling Xiao, this silver ancient stone originally belonged to my Nantian clan. Although it's disgraceful that you used it to win the stone bet, I won't bicker with you. However, to steal my Nantian clan's ancient stone, even if it wasn't you, it was your ancestor. Are you still not admitting to your crimes? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.